And we're live. Make sure that I join my own. No sound detected. What do you mean no sound detected? You're detecting sound right now. Oh, I still haven't figured out how to fix. Oh, maybe if I do that. Well, anyway, we'll see what happens. The YouTube audio, like when I have a YouTube guest, sometimes it doesn't work, which is really annoying. Like, you get some weird echo. Hope everybody had an ending of their week that was good. Oh, do I like football? No, not really. Oh, kind of cold, a little bit chilly. Maybe we'll have a chill day today, and it won't be all too loud. Why the name Blitz? That, my friend, is a secret. Howdy, howdy. Welcome, welcome. As you're streaming, and make sure to like the live, share the live, subscribe, follow, you know, all these things. Hit the like button, smash that bell. Are you still in the Czech Republic? I'm not. I moved back at the beginning of June. End of week involved a lot of a certain someone loving his big, beautiful Papa Bill. Yeah, I heard about that. That's very funny. The church doesn't lie, so are they just like loudly wrong about things on accident? Because look, both can be true. Did I take my wife with me? Yeah, I didn't leave her in the Czech Republic. Yeah, that conversation with John was something else, wasn't it? Oh. Are you educated or have a lot of research done? Both. Both things, actually. Oh. Test. Okay, we're good. Debate creationist Darth Dawkins. I have. He doesn't want to debate creationism. He wants to do the transcendental argument. That's all he can do. So the church made the Big Bang? No, I wouldn't say that the church did. I'm way too kind to people. I don't know. Is such a thing possible? What if you agree? Yeah, then you just carry on with your day. Yeah, I know. So I brought up the swan analogy because it was especially hilarious. Yeah. Blitz, what's your workout routine? My workout routine is go to the gym a few months ago regularly, and then go on a work trip, and then not go back for the last few months and feel bad every single day. I should be going back to the gym, but am not. That's my workout routine. A Catholic made the Big Bang. He absolutely did. Yeah, Georges Lemaitre. I think I'm pronouncing that right, but who knows? So far we have no guests, but we'll give some people some time to filter in. Why do you include atheist apologetics in your science communication? Well, look, I'm also an atheist. If by apologetics you mean like argumentation, then yeah, the reason is because I think it's A, an interesting conversation to have, and B, I think it's true. All right, we have a first guest. All right, let's bring on our first guest. Affordable pest management. Affordable pest management, how's it going?
Oh, not bad. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How old do you think the Earth is?
I'm assuming around 6,000 years.
Okay, and why so?
Well, because when I look at biblical genealogy, which I use as the platform for time and history, it's roughly 6,000.
Sure. What do you make of the the claim that we have evidence of far older things all around us?
Well, I'm not talking about the Earth matter itself. I'm talking about humanity's existence.
So, to be clear, the live stream is about the Earth. And I asked you how old do you think the Earth is, and you said about 6,000 years.
Well, the Earth is like ageless. You know what I mean? It's matter. We don't know how long matter existed, ever started. None of us were there. We can only assume. It's a hypothesis.
Is it the kind of hypothesis that we can test scientifically?
Potentially. I don't know how accurate it would be entirely, but the bottom line is matter, until the Bang Theory took place and it actually formed something. We don't know how long that matter existed.
Well, I mean, look, surely we can agree that matter is older than 6,000 years.
Well, absolutely.
Okay.
But we don't know when it formed. You know what I mean? When that matter actually conglomerated into a planet. You know what I mean?
Well, we know pretty well. It's like 4.5 billion years ago or so.
All right. So what? What does that have to do with anything?
Well, I mean,
you're saying the church lied about science, so I'm not getting that.
Yeah. So like maybe your church didn't, and good for your church. There are churches that say that the universe is 6,000 years old. And that includes the Earth.
Well, that's real stupid.
I agree. Are we in violent agreement here?
Well, I just have a real problem with broad assumptions, being painted with a broad brush against God. It seems to be insinuating against God, because it's the church and the whole atheism thing. And I just really have a hard time with it because, to be perfectly honest with you, if we're going to be completely fair with one another, there's no universal truth for or against God. Either way, on either side of the argument, we can't universally agree or disagree 100% on either side of the aisle. So I think we should just stay, within our walls, of what we personally agree with. Because we're I believe both sides paints with too broad of a brush.
I'm not really understanding what you're getting at here. If the claim is merely that we should let people believe the universe is 6,000 years old because that's what their church tells them, and then we should let other people believe that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old because that's where the scientific evidence leads, and you're saying that we should just let bygones be bygones and, everybody should be able to believe whatever they want. I mean, that's true, but I don't think that it's responsible to teach or to teach false things, rather. So, and I would imagine you would think the same.
I do. As long as we're not painting the Christians as, with a broad brush as just being psychos. I do believe there's certain sects of people that don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. I would
Hmm.
agree with you. And, religion as a whole doesn't know what the hell they're doing. They're delusional.
And
And
to be
it's sad.
clear, you said that you think that the first humans came around 6,000 years ago?
That would be my best guess, based on the genealogical side of how the Bible portrays it. Uh, but again, it's a guess. I don't think it's all that important to me, one way or another, if it was 1,000 years more or 1,000 years less. I mean,
What do you make of human remains that are hundreds of thousands of years old?
I don't know. That's a dark area. If it's true in our carbon dating and we're able to do that, I'm not 100% confident. I wouldn't stake my life or bet my farm on whether or not it's 100% accurate, but I'm just saying humanity, as far as we know, going back to genealogical side of Adam and Eve forward, it goes to about 6,000 years. Now, what happened prior to that? Um, with dinosaurs, which empirically is true. I mean, it's there and predates man. If there were some evolution involved with that with humans, I don't know that. I'm not surprised by it. I don't, I'm not going to negate it, but it really has nothing to do with me just because I'm more focused in on from Adam and Eve forward.
But
Uh,
why do you
in
think
the
that Adam and Eve
books,
existed at all?
because I believe the Bible to be true. I had to make a decision on that, and once I made the decision, I've got to be both feet in. I can't be double minded because a double minded person is unstable. So I'm not going to waver on it unless there is hard factual evidence against it. And I find none in the scientific world that would disprove it.
Well, so Adam and Eve were supposed to be the first people, right?
Correct.
But we have evidence, factual evidence, of people existing before 6,000 years ago.
Agreed.
So they
Uh,
can't be the first people,
well,
right?
as far as we know there were dinosaurs that predated.
Right,
Okay,
I'm talking
so
about people, though.
right, but what I'm saying is because there were dinosaurs, there was life.
Mm-hmm.
What was in that world of life, if it was more even subhuman, I don't know. I wasn't a part of that game. I'm not going to deny it because I'm not a science denier. That's stupid. But what I'm saying is where my focus is what is spoken of in the Bible as far as from Adam and Eve forward. That's my focus. Science, that's fine. I mean, if you want to play in that sandbox, great. I have no problem with it. And I'm not going to begrudge you or deny you or say anything mean about it. I'm just saying it has nothing to do with me. I really don't care one way or the other if there were dinosaurs or subhuman type beings.
Well, no, but we know that
That,
there were humans, like humans like you and me humans.
well, I don't know
We have
that
their
because
skulls. We know that their
right,
skulls, their brains are as big as ours were,
right.
or their
I'm not
brains were as
denying
big
that.
as
But
ours
what I'm
are.
saying is, were they more Neanderistic?
No, no, they had societies. We have towns that are older than 6,000 years old.
Okay, let's all say that's
We have
true.
writing that's older than 6,000 years old.
Let's say that's true. Again, I'm not going to begrudge you for your scientific investigations or thoughts. But again, where my primary as a human being right now on planet Earth, my focus is from Adam and Eve, Genesis 1:1 to Revelations. I'm concerned with that because that is where my eyes choose to be. I'm not of the mindset of wanting to understand science and that predated Adam and Eve. I have no there's no empirical interest in that one way or the other, whether it's true or not true. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't affect me
Okay.
one way or the other.
I mean, look, like that's fine. I like you don't have to care about what's true or not. But you did say that you were science minded, that you don't want to be a science denier. So it seems like that you are interested in figuring out what's like true based off of, factual evidence. But look, I totally respect that. Like, there are things that you care about more, and if you want to adjust your beliefs accordingly, that's fine. I guess we don't really have a place to go besides that then, affordable pest management. Anything you want to say before I let you go?
Well, what happened pre 6,000 years is a little out of the scope. It's hard for me to grasp 6,000 years. I mean, even 2,000
Yeah,
years.
no, I agree.
Christ walked the earth. It's like, wow, that's a big deal. That was a long time ago. The Romans were around. It was more barbaric. It was crazy. And then you go back another 2,000 years to the patriarchal time, and it's like, wow, that's crazy. That was a long time. The human mind, unless you're really adept into deep rooted thinking, I think 6,000 years is enough. And I think what we got to focus in on is whether or not, bottom line, there is spirit matter. And if spirit matter exists, then there's a potentiality that the Bible is accurate. It may not be fallible. It may not be without flaws because we're dealing with human beings over thousands of years. But is there enough evidence in the Bible to support some logical explanation for creation, mankind, and the purpose of our living in this day and age, and what may happen in the hereafter? That's the big question for me, because when all is said and done, when I breathe my last breath, it's not going to matter what happened pre 6,000 years. It matters whether or not Christ was a literal person who literally came from above and died for my sins, that made a path for me to be able to have everlasting life.
Right, I understand that. But if we're calling into question the truth of the book that you're relying on so heavily, if even its very first sentence is wrong, then shouldn't that mean that we should be at least somewhat worried that the rest of it might not be nearly as reliable?
Agreed, if it's wrong. But what I think most people don't take into account when they're reading the Bible, as with most things, people are impulsive. They want to privately interpret things. They don't want to dig and study. And I found most of the Bible can be rationally explained by understanding the original languages it was written in.
What do you make of Genesis 1, where it describes plants existing before the sun existed?
Well, I agree with you wholeheartedly on every single point you will bring up about apparent Bible contradictions as
No,
well.
That's just like factually wrong, right? So like, why should we trust the book to begin with?
Well, here's the thing. Because science can't rationally prove factually abiogenesis, it doesn't mean I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I don't throw everything out.
To be clear, there's a distinction between abiogenesis and the claims made in Genesis 1. So abiogenesis is a hypothesis that has evidence for it, but perhaps not definitive evidence. It hasn't been ruled out. In fact, most scientists agree that it's probably what happened. We just haven't demonstrated it in a lab in the order required yet. On the other hand, the claims made in Genesis 1 are not only is there no evidence for them, they explicitly get the facts wrong. Right? It's not just that like this is an idea and we're not sure if it's right or wrong. This is an idea that we know for certain is wrong in Genesis 1. So it just seems like that this is a different category of things.
Well, I would agree that there are anomalies, what's called anomalies, but what I have found in my studies of the Bible, that when one understands the Bible and studies it in light of the original languages, the Oriental customs it was written in, as well as the figures of speech it was written in a different culture and time, those anomalies all come and are rationally explained.
Can you explain what the anomaly is that where in Genesis 1 it says that the plants were created on day 3 and the sun and the moon were created on day 4?
Agreed. I don't deny
Can you explain
that.
it?
I'm
Well, you said
no,
you said that these kinds of anomalies have rational explanations. So what's the rational explanation?
the rational explanation is that men wrote it over 2,000. Okay, we have no original manuscripts. I think we would agree with that.
So Genesis 1 was probably written around 2,500 years ago.
Correct. So because we have no original manuscripts, we don't know if it was mistranslated, miswrote by man, which is fallible. It says in the book of Revelation that if any man add or take away from this, may all the plagues be added to him. Now, if that is true, what is said in Revelation, then it is possible that men who are fallible can add or take away or mistranslate the understanding. So what I'm not going to do is I look at the Bible in its totality. I look at it and I try to be rational, fair, and open-minded about everything. And when I read it as a whole, I find more good than bad. I'm not saying there's not bad. I'm not saying that things aren't absolutely square and perfect. But what I am saying is me personally, when I read it, I find enough evidence in logical explanations for what is there as a whole than what is not there.
But couldn't you just say that that we don't have original manuscripts for any of the books in the Bible, any of them,
Correct.
not a single one? So why couldn't you just say, well, all of it could be in doubt? We shouldn't trust any of it because all of it could have been wrong. All of it could have been mistranslated or misquoted or whatever. In fact, maybe Jesus's name wasn't Jesus. Maybe it was Shmeezus, and we would never know, right? Maybe he wasn't crucified. Maybe they just meant that he liked the letter X. Like,
absolutely.
So if the argument is that contradictions can be rationalized away by saying, oh, well, maybe this was a mistake, maybe it was mistranslated, then couldn't you just say the same thing about all of it and you shouldn't trust any of it?
No, that would be like saying because there's anomalies in science, you can't trust it.
No,
so
the point I'm making is that you have a book that has issues with it. It makes incorrect statements, and your justification for those incorrect statements is merely that, oh, well, we can't really rely on the current version of the Bible we have being the original. But if that's the case, then we can't rely on any of the current version of the Bible being the original because we don't have the original.
Okay, so that would be like saying in the early days of studying science, the men and women who had good faith attempts at trying to understand what's going on made errors, clerical errors, or they made hard science, factual errors, but later got clarified and cleared up as man grew in his understanding of science. So should we, at that point in the beginning, should we throw out the science, or should we say no?
There's a symmetry breaker here. There's a symmetry breaker. The symmetry breaker is that we don't. We can throw out the science that the early scientists did because we don't need the early scientists in order to do more science because we can just go look at the natural world ourselves. We don't have to rely on old records or on old experiments. We could throw away all of the science that was done before the year 1980 and we could recover every single true thing that they came up with, and we would not recover any of the false things that they came up with. However, because we don't have some kind of a primary source that we can go rely on for the biblical texts, we can't do the same thing with the biblical texts. All we have is the equivalent of the 1700s era scientists, and we can't go out and look at the equivalent of, the natural world. So the analogy fails because we just can't, we cannot self-correct once you're working with the Bible, but we can self-correct when you're working scientifically.
Well, I would disagree with you. I think we can self-correct when it comes to the Bible because there's a lot of facts and evidence that comes to light as we grow in our understanding of the Bible. Like I said, in understanding the Bible, for instance, my professor went to the Middle East and he studied what's called figures of speech. It's just ways of saying things that were said at a specific time that it is beyond our understanding today. So the West Coast to the East Coast has slang and ways of saying things that we don't quite understand unless you live there. So what I'm saying is a lot of misconceptions can be cleared up with that.
But those misconceptions are in things that are potentially incorrectly translated.
Potentially, yes, and I would agree with that.
We can never know if those incorrectly translated or misquoted or poorly written versions are accurately representing what the original was. We can never know that unless we go find an original manuscript, of course.
Well, what I had to do is come to the blanket bottom line conclusion as to whether or not there is this mysterious God. Okay. So that was the biggest question. It isn't the anomalies written in the Bible. It's bottom line is there a spirit energy that is of higher intelligence than us who made all of this? So that's the first and most important critical key in the puzzle. So what I did is I sought that first, and I came to the conclusion that reality has an identity. Okay, that at which something exists. Okay, for reality to exist at all, it must have an identity. Similar to Moses at the burning bush, whom shall ye say that I am?
What do you mean by for reality to exist, it must have an identity?
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. Can you elaborate?
Well, when God said to Moses, I am that I am. Okay.
I still don't know what you mean. Identity. I don't think that God exists. So you're going to have to put this in a perspective that makes sense to me.
Okay. So let's do that. Order demands, the order of the cosmos demands intelligent design. Okay.
Why?
In order to bring about order, like in my personal life, like if I had a garden or cleaning my house or anything, order demands an intelligent mindset. Okay.
Why would I think that that's true?
Order. Pardon me?
Why would I think that that's true?
Well, if you let nature go, like if I let plant life grow around my house and just didn't weed and cut my grass and take care of my home, disorder would take over.
Not always.
There would be no order. So what I'm saying is I have to purpose in my life to have order. Therefore, order demands an intelligent mind behind it.
Look, so the fact that in order for your garden to be well groomed, you have to have intention, that does not therefore imply that any time there is something that looks structured, that there is intention behind it. You're going from, a sample size of 1, if you will, or perhaps a sample size of 1,000,000 to saying that this applies to everything in the universe. But I can just give you a counterexample. Look at crystals in a cave, for example, or pyrite crystals underground. These are things that look remarkably structured and remarkably orderly, and yet we know the natural process by which they arise. There's no intention behind them necessary.
Agreed. Now, what I'm going to do with you with these issues is meet you on the 50-yard line in fairness and in honesty, because neither side, like I said, can mutually come to a conclusion that there is or is not a God. So, but what I'm doing is I'm trying to structure some arguments that would point in the direction that there is higher intelligence beyond ourselves. Now, what you do with that, as Hebrews chapter 11, verse 6 says, that it is impossible to know God without faith. So one has to come to a 50-yard line of understanding and say, okay, I'm going to look at everything and then try to draw some form of a conclusion as to the possibility of there being a God. Then I have to stretch forth my faith, in which I did, okay, because I had to come on God's terms. I don't study mathematics with an English book. I had to go to his book and say, okay, what is the criteria by which he will reveal himself to me? So I went to the book. I did what it said. I asked an honest question, looking up into the heavens. Look, if you're there, if you're really there, I said, I honestly want to know you. And if you are there and you can prove it to me beyond any, reasonable doubt, then I will live according to what you're saying here.
Okay, so what's the proof beyond reasonable doubt?
Okay, to me, it's subjective. Okay, it happened to me. It ain't something I can duplicate for you. But what happened to me is...
Hold on, before you continue. So, Affordable, okay. If your answer is you had an experience, I can 100% sympathize with that. I agree. Okay. Humans are susceptible to, changing our beliefs when we have certain experiences. Absolutely. I'm sure that if I had such an experience, I would change my beliefs. But when people start talking about their personal experiences, it's basically as interesting as when somebody starts telling you about their dreams. And so, like, it's enough for you to just say, yeah, I had a personal experience and it was compelling to me. And look, I'm willing to grant that. As long as you recognize that that's not a good reason for me to believe, then we can be in agreement.
Well, I think that you and I could come to a general consensus that hypothetically, if there is this mysterious God, okay, if he's there, let's just suppose he is.
Sure.
He has every right to set his sandbox up exactly the way he chooses to. Now, if he chooses to say, I am not going to reveal myself in this day and age the way I did in times past, 4,000 years ago, where it was tangibly present. But in this day and age, I am going to compel human beings to want to know me before I do. That's his prerogative. I mean, I think you would agree with me on that. Let not the thing created say to the creator.
I wouldn't say he's all loving then.
Well, your version of love is different from the next person's version of love. Like how you raise your family might not be the same as how the next guy raises his family.
Look, if he wants a relationship with all of us and he loves all of us, then one would expect that he would meet the minimum criteria necessary for each individual person to be able to form a relationship with him.
He did.
No,
he did.
Apparently not, because if he did, then everybody would have formed a relationship with him. Now, it may have been an antagonistic relationship. Maybe God revealed himself to some person, yesterday, and that person didn't like it, and so now they have an antagonistic relationship. But at least there's the possibility of a relationship that exists. If God does not meet the bare minimum criteria for each individual person, then it's just not clear at all why. It's not clear at all that God actually wants a relationship to begin with.
Well, not with everyone. Think of copulation, for instance. Billions of cells are dispersed in the womb, and one finds the egg and fertilizes it.
So you agree that God does not want a relationship with everybody?
No, I say that those who intend to want to know him, he does reveal himself. What I'm saying is...
Are you familiar with non-resistant non-believers?
Yeah, and here's the thing.
So these would be examples of people that want to know and yet do not.
Let me ask you a question, sir. You're an individual, okay? You're a unique individual, and you have a lot of great qualities, but you set parameters up around you where you only let so many into your inner space, so many into your outer spaces, where you have casual relationships with people. Then you have real casual, hi and bye. And then you have intimate relationships with people. That is God's prerogative just as much as it's your prerogative. You don't let everyone into your personal space. You don't let everyone into your home.
Look, maybe you're just not picking up on the objection that I'm raising. If I wanted a relationship with, I don't know, the example I usually give is Scarlett Johansson. Let's say I wanted to be her friend, right? She seems like a cool person, has a good sense of humor. Fine. I want to hang out with her. I think that she'd be cool to hang out with. Do I have any hope? Would it be reasonable at all for me to expect her to, at least consider my friendship if she doesn't even know I exist?
No.
Okay. Similarly, if, let's say 60% of the world's population doesn't even know that the Christian God exists, how could God reasonably hope for a relationship with those people?
That's an area that I choose to stay silent on because I don't know those answers. That's left for him. Here's what my theory is it's God's house. He can choose to allow those who he wants into his house, and then those that he doesn't, or that did not pursue a relationship with him, he would just take all of his attributes and move elsewhere and say, okay, you did not pursue a relationship with me, so I will take my attributes and go here.
How could somebody pursue a relationship with him if they don't even know he exists?
You're 100% true, and I don't have an answer for that. I wish I did.
This is a problem. Like, consider this. Does God just not like Southeast Asian people? because if you go to Southeast Asia, like almost nobody's Christian. And
Right.
it's just because Christianity spread in the Middle East and it spread in Europe and it spread through the Americas. It just didn't make its way to Southeast Asia, at least not until recently. And, you know, by then colonization and forced conversion wasn't really a thing anymore. So like, it seems like your God is just like, yeah, I just don't like Southeast Asians. It just seems like he's xenophobic or something. Like what's going on there?
No, I wouldn't say that. If you look at the genealogical breakdown as man progressed, you know, in the Bible, as you kind of read it, as it goes from Adam, Cain, Abel, you know,
with the exception of the Philippines, by the way. The Philippines is very Catholic, I should say.
Right.
I'm talking about like Southeast Asia land.
When
Go
you
ahead.
look at genealogically how man progressed and then geographically spread out, it goes from a point where Jacob and Esau divided off. Okay. And then you see that those people, you know, did not pursue the Abrahamic traditions and went in their own way. So they became more barbaric. You can see that in the types of nations that, you know, Israel went up against, warlike, barbaric type people. And so I think God distanced himself from them. It's similar to those that...
do you think that the people in Southeast Asia descend from people in the Middle East 6,000 years ago?
Potentially, I don't know that.
Okay,
for
but
sure.
I mean, it's strictly false, right?
Well, I know this is if they're further away from God or their ability to understand. It's
so like God just likes white
that.
people more.
Well, who knows? I don't know. You know, here's the thing.
I mean, look, so you said that it's God's prerogative who he opens himself up to and who he doesn't. So it just seems like God just preferred like the whitish people and just don't really like the people of Southeast Asia, really. Which
know
is
some
kind of like messed up.
That are highly Christian and very spiritual, and I know black people that are very spiritual. I don't want to put a lid on it. What I'm saying is that if people aren't able or chosen or whatever, you know, I look at it, you know, I choose to stay silent on that because it's not my house. Who you invite to your party, sir, is your business.
This seems like evidence that God isn't real, at least not an all-loving God.
Well, you know, I respect your opinion, but what I'm saying is that
can you
I know
respond to the evidence?
Life always comes from life. You don't get life from.
I'm sorry. Can you respond to the evidence that I brought up?
Yep, I just did.
Okay, so the evidence that I brought up is that God, if God were all-loving, then we would expect God would love everybody equally. However, from the conversation we've just had, it seems evident to me that you don't think God loves Southeast Asians as much as God loves Europeans and the people that Europeans colonized.
Do you love everyone?
What's the issue?
Across the board? I mean, equally. I mean,
no,
honestly,
I'm not all-loving.
Is God all-loving? But it's not love. See, is it not
Does
love?
Does God want a relationship with everybody?
Is it not love to send somebody to prison if they raped a woman? Is it love?
Did Southeast Asians all grape women?
You need to go, you know, out of society because you're acting.
Did Southeast Asians all grape women? Like, what are we doing here?
I don't know.
So what did the Southeast Asians do to deserve this lack of love from the creator of the universe?
Ask God that.
Or maybe the God doesn't exist.
Well, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he does. But what I'm saying is,
I'm providing you evidence that he doesn't. At least not the God that you believe in.
If he does exist, what I'm saying is you'll have your day in court.
Or I won't. And you won't either.
Well, you know, you don't know that 100%.
Well, I know that your God doesn't exist because your God your God embodies contradictions. One of the examples being the one that I just gave you.
Are you the arbiter of truth? Did somebody give you that gift or knowledge?
No, I'm just relying on things like there are no true contradictions.
So
do you think that there are true contradictions?
Is your hypothesis 100% provable? Yes or no?
Do you believe that there are true contradictions?
Your hypothesis 100%
do you believe that there are true contradictions? Your God, yeah.
Look, I've answered your questions. Can you just answer?
Yes, it is 100% proven that your God does not exist.
No, provable. Factually,
so contradictions cannot be true. I just showed you a contradiction. Therefore, your God
Well,
cannot exist.
that is your opinion. Because it
There's nothing
appears like there's a
opinionated here.
contradiction,
If
it
your
doesn't mean
God
it's
loves
true.
everybody, then your God would
Right.
reveal himself equally to all people. Your God does
So
not
it's-
reveal himself equally to all people. Therefore, your God
So-
is not all loving. However, your God, by
God would
definition,
have
is
to-
all loving, and so you have a true contradiction that your God is not all
would have
loving
to
and
fit
that your
in the
God is all loving.
parameters of your mindset in order for him to be real.
I'm sorry, I missed all of that because I was talking and I can't hear you when I'm talking.
So God would have to fit in the parameters of your personal mindset in order for you to believe he's real.
God would have to fit into the parameters that he is believed to fit into according to Christians. For the Christian God to be real, yeah.
Is there room for error?
I mean, Christians could be wrong that God is not all loving, but then it just wouldn't be the Christian
so your
God.
hypothesis could be wrong.
So,
if you're
wait,
basing it
to be
on
clear, I'm
Christians, then your
defining the Christian
hypothesis-
God to include one of the properties being all loving. If you don't
But
think the
is
Christian
there
God
room for
necessarily includes the property of all loving, then we're
Is
just not
there
talking about the
room
same
for
thing.
Error in that hypothesis.
For error in what? I'm talking about the definition
In
of
your
what the Christian God
hypothesis.
is.
Well, wait a minute. Is there room for error in your perception of what you believe all loving is? And
No,
how God
words just mean words.
well,
Right.
is there
Words
room
have
for
meaning.
error? Well, is there room for error? Yes or no?
Error in what? Words have certain meanings. We're applying the meaning of those
Exactly.
words.
Is there room for error in that?
Definitions aren't truth claims. Definitions can't be false or true. Definitions are just meanings.
Right. So is there room for error? In other words,
I don't know what that question means. Definitions can't be in error. Definitions
your
are just agreed
perception
upon
capable
conventions
of
for what
being-
words mean.
Is your perception capable of being skewed
My perception about what?
about God? And in these meanings, your word meanings you're talking about, and what
No.
other Christians are saying.
This is just what the words mean, right?
Well, could the words be miscalculated in some way? Maybe
It is
skewed?
so what is possible is that it is possible that the God that the God that you know, Paul believed in or whatever, it is possible
Right.
that the God that Paul believed in, or that the God that Paul thought he believed in, actually doesn't have the properties that Christians think he has. For example, it's possible that if that God exists, that it doesn't have the property of all loving, or it doesn't have the property of all knowing, or it doesn't have the property of being good. Those things are possible, but then you're just not talking about the Christian God. You're talking about something else entirely.
Well, let's just deal with spirit, a higher power. Is it possible there is a higher power, a spirit entity that is divinely inspired and created things? Yes or no?
No, I don't think so. But that's a separate conversation. That's not the thing that you believe in. You believe in the Christian God,
I
right?
believe in the Christian God.
Right.
But
and so that thing
there's
is
not
not
anomalies.
possible.
But I'm not saying there's not anomalies that might have skewed your perception of him. And words
The
might not
anomalies
have-
being that he describes himself as all loving and wanting a relationship with everything, even though he doesn't.
How do you know that ain't skewed?
Oh, okay. So look,
do
we
you
could
know those
agree.
words
So
were
if
not
that's skewed, then maybe you don't have a problem with divine hiddenness. But that means that the God that you believe in just isn't the God that you think he is. Which means
Well,
that you are incorrect about the God that you believe in.
Yeah, well, I think we see in this world through glass dimly, and we're not given every single answer. And what I'm saying is there's enough there for me to base credible evidence that he does exist. Do I believe every single word? No, because it was written by man and it could have gotten skewed over thousands of years, but I don't believe the entire thing is wrong.
Look, there's a problem here, because if you believe that if it's true that the God you believe in, let me rephrase, if the God you believe in is the God that is all loving, is all powerful, wants a relationship with everyone, then that God isn't real, right? The example of divine hiddenness demonstrates that. Now, you might say that I believe in a supernatural thing, and I think it has these features, but I could be wrong about it having these features. That's a different thing, but then you're just not believing in the Christian God.
Well, that's everyone has a private interpretation. That and I believe that you're sincere in your belief, but sincerity is no guarantee for truth. You're very sincere about trying to disprove God. I don't judge you for that. But what I'm saying is you can't base that entirely on fact. You don't have enough evidence to support that.
The evidence is that the majority of Southeast Asia knows about Jesus and just doesn't think that he's God.
And
that's the evidence. And that's true. I think that we can agree that that's true.
I think we can agree to disagree.
You think that that's not true?
Pardon me. I believe that Southeast Asians believe what they want, and they're going to be accountable for that. And I'm not. I'm not accountable for what the Southeast Asians do or don't do. Or what
I'm not asking you to be accountable. I'm saying that if it's the case that Southeast Asia is filled with people who don't believe in the God that you believe in, and these people are not particularly different from other people, meaning that they're not like more principally opposed to Jesus just from some intrinsic genetic factor, then that means that there is a reason God has not made himself as available to people in Southeast Asia as he has to people in the Middle East, North Africa, and Europe. And it seems like if that's the case, then your God is not all loving and does not want a relationship with everybody.
That's your perception. That is your belief.
Which part of the argument do you disagree with?
The all-loving.
You don't think that he's all-loving?
Because we send people to prison doesn't mean that society is not all-loving.
Do you think that society is all-loving?
For a reason.
Please tell me that that's not coming from your body.
Pardon me?
The sounds that I'm hearing?
I'm sorry.
Is that the sink?
Yeah, I've got to go to a doctor's appointment, so I'm trying to rush and do things. I'm multitasking, so I
apologize. No, you're good. To be clear, I don't think anybody would say that society is all loving.
Well, it doesn't mean like you're not loving for sending someone to jail or excluding them from society because they're antisocial or they have antisocial behavior.
Are Southeast Asian people antisocial?
I'm not saying they are or not.
Because they're clearly being excluded for something. So why are they being excluded?
I'm making no judgments against them. I'm just saying that's God's call. It's not my call. It's not your call.
Do you think that Southeast Asian people are intrinsically different in some way from, say, Europeans or North Africans or Middle Easterners? Do you think that there's some feature that Southeast Asian people have that those other groups do not have, or vice versa?
It's not my call. That's not my call because, who you invite to your party in your home is your personal private business.
That's true. However, if you said, I'm only going to invite white people to my party, and then you say, but I love all races equally, I would be a little bit suspect.
Well, true. But again, you're a private person and you might have a specific reason for that. Okay. And I'm not going to judge you for that.
The reason would be racism, by the way.
Potentially. But you got to know what's in one's heart before you make a judgment call against them. Just because something appears one way doesn't mean it's in one's heart. It's in one's heart that makes them bad or good. It's not so much.
If somebody ran a corner store and they put up on their in their window, they said, no Jews allowed. Would you say that, oh, well, we can't know if they hate Jews. We have to know what's in their heart. And we can't know that.
But that's not the same analogy, though. I mean, God never put a sign up that said no South Asians allowed.
He may as well have, because he didn't reveal himself to them.
You don't know that.
So are you telling me that he did that it's possible he did reveal himself to them, and then they just didn't know what you don't know. We don't know that. I think we do know. Yeah, I did use the word suspect in the way I meant to use the word suspicious. That's true.
Let's be honest. You don't factually know that.
I don't know what that statement means. The point is that like it's the fact that unless you think there's kind of two options here, right? So either one, God did reveal himself to Southeast Asians equally in the same way that he revealed himself to Middle Easterners, and Southeast Asians just didn't receive it because Southeast Asians are like morally bankrupt or something. or God didn't reveal himself in the same way to Southeast Asians as he did to Middle Easterners. And so you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place here. Either A, you're saying that that Southeast Asians are just like, you know, morally bankrupt or something, or incapable of receiving the gospel for whatever reason, or B, God didn't choose to reveal himself to them, in which case God isn't interested in universal relationships.
We don't know what may
Those
or
are the
may
two
not.
options, right?
Yeah,
so it's one or the other, and both don't look good.
What if he did thousands of years ago and they chose to go their own way and choose their
so
own?
You're telling me that Southeast Asians have some particular moral failing that forced them or that enabled them or allowed them or I don't want to say forced, some moral failing that drove them to go some other way, and that just sounds like racism.
Well, it you know, in your mind it could appear that way, but what I'm saying is people like I can choose to reject you as a friend, or I can choose to embrace you as a friend. It doesn't make me morally defective because I choose not to be your friend. Let's say the genetic species of the Southeast Asians at some time in history.
No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that, sorry. Nope. We were like hanging out on a knife's edge there for like a, you know, a hot minute, but like, Let's look at some super chats before we continue. So Shitheads Tavern sent 250 jewels, thank you, and Phil sent 500 jewels. And then it's just gonna spam those. Dave sent 500 jewels. I appreciate that for the thank you. And for some reason my app is broken, so we'll just spam those. Echo sent 2 Canuck bucks to I don't know why I can't talk. 2 Canuck bucks to say God means energy. Jesus means the sun. I don't know if that's true actually, but I appreciate the energy. All right, let's bring up another guest. Let's bring up PhD Free.
Hello.
PhD Free, how's it going?
Blessed.
Good. How old do you think the Earth is?
Give or take 6,000 to 10,000 years old.
Give or take 6,000 to 10,000 years old. Sorry. 1 sec. Let me just adjust something really quick. Oop. Okay, good. Give or take 6,000 to 10,000 years old. Great. Okay. And why do you think so?
Based off of a data and sample analysis of a
Sorry, the what sample analysis?
Based off of a data and test analysis of
Sure.
the Y chromosome
Yeah, okay.
attachment to the mitochondrial lineage of the Americans to conclude
Attachment to the mitochondria. So the Y chromosome doesn't interact with the mitochondria.
Yeah, so wait a minute. So you
I'm a little
use a Y
confused.
chromosome, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let me finish what I was saying
Yeah, go
first.
ahead.
So if you look into the actual biology of lineage and the mitochondrial D loops and RCNs, you can technically...
You're going to have to break this down for me, by the way, because I am not a biologist. So continue,
fine.
but I'm going to ask you a lot of questions.
Yeah, you can look it up, and if you...
No, I'm going to ask you questions. I'm not going to I'm not going to like read on stream. I'm not going to go like pull up a book on stream. Like I'm going to ask you questions. Is that fair?
Yeah, sure. So long story short, you look into the mitochondrial evolution clock rate based off of a sequence of an alignment of progression. For example,
So the mitochondrial DNA clock rate based off of a sequence of progression?
Yep, from the D loop. So there's
What's
a
the
D
D
loop.
loop? Can you tell me?
Sure. Yeah, sure. The D loop would be referenced in biology. For this specific test that I'm reading, it's based off of a tree. Actually, they took a bunch of trees, and with this tree, they actually measured the branches, the length throughout the time, and with that time, they were able to calculate the rate of progression.
The rate of progression of what?
The D loop.
What does it mean that the D loop progresses? Because I just Googled this just so I could know what the word means. So I guess the D loop is are you talking about the displacement loop?
Yeah, it's a displacement loop.
So it's a
where,
non-coding region in the circular mitochondrial DNA.
Correct. Yes. Yep.
So
exactly.
so what do you mean by progression of the D loop?
Okay, cool. So why the D loop is important? So at least in this.
What do you mean by
analogy-
the progression of the D loop?
Well, maybe I should like finish the claim first before you start.
You did. You said that the branching is related to the progression of the D loop.
No.
So I'm asking what you mean by that.
So this claim isn't like your average sixth grade scientist. This is an actual claim, right? So
Yeah.
what I'm
So
saying-
can you explain what you mean by the progression of the D loop?
Yeah, sure, man. So for
Okay.
instance, throughout the sequence alignment of the mitochondria, there's a thing called a Cambridge reference sequence, which is called the RCRS, and the
Okay.
D loop. So the D loop it's excluded due to high mutation rates and the alignments ambiguity, which
What
means
alignment?
that
What alignments?
the alignments of the RCRS.
Can you explain what RCRS is? I don't know what that acronym means.
Yeah, it's a revised Cambridge reference.
Okay, so the revised Cambridge reference sequence. So we have the revised Cambridge reference sequence. Okay, and so we're talking about alignment between what and what?
Okay, so there's an RCRS, right? Do you want me to tell you what that is?
Which is a sequence of presumably genes, right?
Well, it's a sequence. Well, yeah, it's technically the first sequenced genes that we've seen that's been
Great.
consistent.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. I'm on board. So there's an alignment between the RCRS and what?
And the D loop. So they take the D loop, right?
So the D loop. So the RCRS is the RCRS, I guess, is a full mitochondrial DNA sequence. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is.
And the D loop is just a part of it.
Well, yeah, the D loop
So
is. The
I don't
part
understand what it would mean for a part of a thing to be aligned with the whole thing.
Okay, so let me. Okay, so let me, if you don't mind, let me tell you what this actually is before you start critiquing it. Yeah.
I'm not critiquing. I'm just asking questions. I'm literally not making a critique. I'm just trying to understand what it is the claim you're making is saying.
Blitz, if you let me finish the sentence, maybe then you would understand, right? A little more, right?
So that's fine. I'm happy to let you finish the sentence, but look, you're going to have to explain things because I'm not a biologist. By the way, PhD free, are you a biologist?
No, I'm not a biologist. No, I'm an independent researcher.
Where'd you learn all this stuff?
I'm an independent researcher.
Where'd you learn all this stuff?
Online.
Okay, so from papers and stuff?
Yeah, sure. You can
Textbooks?
look. Yeah, papers. No, not necessarily textbooks. Mostly papers and I have a big thing of debunking God as well. But the only difference is I came to a different conclusion than you did.
Well, so the difference, I mean, it's not like I learned all of my stuff on the internet, right? But anyway.
Well, yeah, well, buddy, just so you know, everything you learned in college, Blitz, is also online. So don't try to
that's not true.
credentials. Well, can you name me one thing that you know that I can't find online?
Yeah, you can't find, there's a particular paper that I have that you can't find online.
Yeah, bad. Tell me what's the paper called.
Yeah, one sec.
Yeah, sure.
It's by Robin Graham. And I cited it in a recent paper. Let me just pull it up. I can never remember the
So
name.
if you cited it, it means it was already there, right?
No, I cited it because I got access to it from a library.
Okay, so if it's in a library, doesn't that mean someone else can get it?
Yeah, somebody else can. You can't get it online though.
Oh my God. Yeah. Anyways, can I finish my claim, dude?
Okay, so we're gonna jump away from that. That's fine. Yeah, finish your claim.
You pretended that you go to college, which equates to you can learn something that someone else can, which is a fallacy. Which is
No, I mean there are things that you can't learn online. Absolutely. Actually, you know what would be very helpful?
Are books online?
PhD free. Not everything that you would learn at a university can be found online. A lot of things can, but not everything.
I guarantee you I'll find a book online. What's the book called, bud?
So to be clear, I already provided you with an example of a thing that I can reference.
Book title. That's an author. Can I get the book title?
That's an Arthur? What?
You just said his name was Robin Graham. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no. I was gonna find you the name of the paper, but then you said that it doesn't matter because you can find it in a library.
Yeah, that's still somewhere.
But a library isn't necessarily online.
Look, I watched your lives for a while now, dude. You appeal to credentials and as if you have the equivalence to some form of superiority, which I think is very disgraceful.
Have I appealed to credentials at all? Actually, I think that we can leave that up to the audience. I mean, I will bring up my credentials insofar as I actually can speak on things with authority in some regards, specifically physics.
Pieces
But
of
an
paper
appeal to
doesn't
credentials
equivalent
is when you
authority.
fallaciously use credentials to try to bolster an argument rather than providing an example of an
Did you not
expert
just?
that is familiar with a
Yes.
topic being informed and speaking on that topic. That's a
All right,
different kind of
Blitz, this
thing.
happens every time, bro. Like someone comes up, actually has a like actual conversation, and not even
Look,
10 seconds. You can
I'm happy to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, don't interrupt though. Try to
So before we
converse for
continue,
5 seconds.
is there like a good paper that you could tell me the name of or something so I can pull it up so that I can look at it while
No,
you're
it's
telling
not.
me your argument?
Yeah, it's not a paper. It's just a genetic. It's just, oh, it has. It's not an actual paper name. It's just a bunch of. It's a collab of data based off of mitochondria.
Okay, so what's the what are the data points that you're using to extrapolate to 6 to 10,000 years old?
Sure. I used the. I don't know if you're familiar with Noah's family from the Bible. So I started off with
Yeah,
biblical
sure, like
chronology.
the Noah, his wife, and then a few of his children, right?
Sure, yeah. I start off with biblical chronology, and with that biblical chronology, it states that biologically, if the Bible has any form of relevance, that by definition, you would be able to find how in your DNA system, it would all have to come back to a female. Because if you look at the Bible's ancestries, right, Noah had daughters
Well, I don't
first.
know what you mean by that. Like, what would all have to come back to a female?
Okay, so have you read the Bible?
Yeah. Well, I
Oh,
haven't
so
read the Christian Bible. I've read the Hebrew Bible several times.
you know, yeah, well, that's fine. But do you understand in the Bible how Noah had daughters first?
Sure, I'll believe that.
Yeah, so
I don't
there
remember
was
the names of Noah's
a,
children, so
according to the context of the Bible, apparently there was a flood, right? And in this flood, Noah and his family were the only ones that survived. Everyone else
sure.
unalive.
Yep.
So if everyone else unalived, Noah and his family survived. He had daughters and sons, but daughters were first. Then that means biologically you can track the mitochondrial sequence back to a female origin. So if this is true, then you can take a sequence of data, and with the sequence of data, you can come to a conclusion based off of your own analysis to see if it's real or not real.
Yeah,
And
so what kind of data would you use to come to the conclusion that the common origin or the common female ancestor of all living humans originates from 4,000 years ago?
Yeah, sure. You have to take, well, good question. So first you have to find out where was Noah's family at least according to biblical scholars and biblical context.
It would have been like somewhere in Turkey, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You have to look at the post-flood female ancestor, Eve, actually.
Well, wait a minute,
where,
hold on. So we can't assume that the thing that you want to be true is true and use that to inform our data analysis. We have to look at the data and see if it agrees with, a 4,000 or a common female ancestor 4,000 years ago.
So I'm assuming you know how the scientific method works, right?
Absolutely.
You should. I know Nathan Thompson schooled you on it last time you debated him. But
Sure.
so the scientific method works like this, right? You have an assumption, and with that assumption, you come to different characters of the scientific method, apply that sequence to that hypothesis. So based off of the hypothesis of
I think
4,500...
that you're getting the scientific method wrong.
Wait, am I?
Yeah, scientific
Want me to-
method is
do you
first
want
you
me
make
to
an
offer-
observation,
Wait a
you
minute,
form
wait a minute, wait a minute.
you form a hypothesis proposing an explanation for that
minute.
observation, you
on,
use
hold
that
on.
hypothesis to make predictions about new novel observations, you run tests or make observations to check whether the predictions of your hypothesis come true, and then you run data analysis on those tests and on those observations to verify whether or not the data agrees with your hypothesis or does not. That's the scientific method. I don't know what you were talking about.
Yeah, that's like a very vague scientific definition. I would expect something more.
That's actually like
From you,
the
Blitz.
exact precise scientific method.
Yeah, so with
There's
the scientific
nothing really
method,
vague there at all.
maybe you neglected the main part, right? So in this process of this hypothesis and observations, you also have to come to a sequence of making an experiment that applies to the scientific method based off of the independent variables that you can actually
You
control.
don't need to use independent variables to do the scientific method. You can rely solely on observation.
If I want to conduct a scientific experiment, Blitz, do I need to manipulate this experiments from other factors?
You can do the scientific method merely with observation without experimentation.
Yeah, so if I want to say that gravity is real, Blitz, would I not need to be
Wait a
able to
minute,
manipulate?
is this the same Free that's a flat earther?
Why does that matter?
Because it just destroys your credibility if it's true.
So wait a minute. See, that's a fallacy right there. Because I have a different point of view from you, that destroys my my reference. It's kind
Well,
of
no, because I've spoken with you before, and I know how
Bro, I've spoke to
incredible you
before.
are.
You ran from me
That
hundreds of
destroys your
times.
credibility.
Bro, I'm not, dude. Can you stay on topic? Like, yo, your attention span is of a pigeon. It's
I
very
mean, you
embarrassing.
you brought up gravity, bro. You were the one that was not staying on topic.
Because you're the one with a PhD that doesn't understand the scientific method. You need to be able to have an independent variable, a dependent
No,
variable, and a control system that you
you
can
don't need
manipulate.
that for an experiment. You need that, but you don't need to run an experiment to run the scientific method. You can do it solely
Buddy,
based
I'm
off of
running an
observation if you want.
experiment in this framework that I'm using to test the to test the Y chromosome and the mitochondria. You need an experiment,
So
which
we
is
weren't
what I'm
talking about your
doing.
specific test. We were talking about the scientific
Oh
method
my
in
God.
general.
Okay, so Blitz, are you done questioning things? Can I speak for a sentence?
Yeah. So what is the hypothesis that you made? Or I guess the hypothesis is probably pretty evident, right? The hypothesis is that the I guess that the female lineage traces back to a single ancestor around 4,000 years ago, right? That's probably
That's
the
part of it.
hypothesis.
Are you done?
That was a question.
Yeah, I said that was part of it, right? So that's what originated by actual like wanting to actually give a damn about this in the first place, right?
Well,
'Cause I
so then
think
what's the
that's
full
pretty
hypothesis?
self-relevant. Yeah, the mitochondria from this root work of genetics. The mitochondria has a single consistent with one woman, and with that consistency,
4,000 years
which
ago, right?
4,500 years
Okay,
ago.
sure, 4,500. Sure.
And with this, I should be able to find a somewhere in the world a consistency here that holds back all the way to the old African, somewhere in the African Americans, if that makes any sense.
No, can you rephrase?
Yeah, sure. The mutation rates of this mitochondria should be either fast or slow enough to compress a data timeline of 4,500 years ago, a mutation. And with that mutation rate, I should be able to observe with this experiment a tree, and the tree branches length to I would say consistent with this time period of mutation of 4,500
Okay,
years.
so it sounds like you kind of lumped in your predictions with your hypothesis, but that's fine. So your claim is that if it's the case that there was a single female ancestor that all modern human females descend from 4,500 years ago, then we should be able to see, given the mutation rates of the mitochondrial DNA, we should be able to see the deviations from that single female human ancestor that has a certain amount of mutations that line up with 4,500 years worth of mutations. Is that correct?
Yes, but also you forgot the part where this is referenced from biblical chronology, right? So with this biblical chronology, it's in reference from a timeline from the biblical flood, and from this biblical flood, the mitochondrial branches, the actual pattern of its mitochondria should reflect the migration from this location of this flood. As far as the personnel,
Do you have a
to
hypothesis for where that flood happened? Oh, did you just like unplug your headphones or something? Okay, never mind, we're good. Because you can't say it should reflect the migration patterns if you don't have a hypothesis for what the migration patterns were. So do you have a hypothesis for what those migration patterns were? That's not based on the analysis that you've already run?
Well, yeah, from the paper, it would have to be correspondence to it's actually based off of the Northeast Asia, and it's actually three. It's North America, Northeast Asia, and Bergia,
And what was the third one?
Berninja.
Beringia?
You
That's
ever heard of
Northeast
it?
Asia.
It's northeast of Asia.
Yeah, it's the same place. So that's two places?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. The Bible is kind of weird, dude, because they say two things. They say they were at two locations, but regardless, in this like example that I'm referencing, it should be with one of these places, right?
Well, but the Bible refers to Mount Ararat, does it not?
Well, the paper. Well, yeah, the papers like the actual paper that's constructed is referenced from the migration from Asia to the Americas. And then I'm assuming.
Right.
I'm
So
assuming
to be
it's
clear, do we agree that
assuming
as that part of your hypothesis is that this mitochondrial DNA, the migration rates should be able to track back to Mount Ararat, which is somewhere in Turkey or somewhere perhaps in the North Middle East?
exactly.
Okay. Okay. So what is the evidence that supports this?
Yeah, sure. Well, that's cool. So for starters, you want to start with the very, very basics. I would say that you would have to. So in this entire this little experiment, they used a tree, right?
You say they. Who's they?
The people who constructed this actual like this idea, it's called the YEC, like the model proposing the young Earth creation model.
Yeah,
Have you
yeah.
heard of
So
it?
like this is there should be like a paper on this, right? That I can go take a look at.
Well, no, the biology isn't a specific paperwork, but the history of Noah,
Well, I'm
that's a
talking
paper.
about like the place where I can go find the data analysis that shows that the mitochondrial DNA has only been mutating for around 4,500 years.
You're asking for the paper with the biology? That's not
With the
on the
data.
YEC.
Well, no, I'm
If you go
asking
to
for the
YEC,
I'm asking for a
sure,
source
yeah,
of the data
yeah, buddy,
points.
the biology, I did. I constructed the biology. If you want to look up
You did the data analysis yourself?
well, look up the data that they provided. That would have to be
Okay, so where's the
consistent
data?
with what the stated.
Where's the
Did
data?
did you hear anything I just said? I did the data that they claimed in the paper based off of the biblical chronology, is time sequence.
You did
and
the data. So you sequenced the genomes?
Did I sequence the genomes? No, I took what they claimed of the locations, and with the
Okay,
locations,
so where can I go find what they claimed?
I just told you the YEC.
So the data that you got was from young Earth creationists. And okay, so what's the source? Like where can you show me like what's the name of the database or what's the name of the paper where this data is laid out? Where can I find it?
It's literally, yo, do you know YEC is a website, right?
YEC is not a website. It doesn't have a
Like if you Google YEC Young Earth Creation, you will find a bunch.
I know what YEC stands for. There are a lot of young Earth creationist websites. So if you're are you talking about like Answers in Genesis? Are you talking about like 100 other young Earth creationist websites? Because there's like 100 of them. YEC is not a single website. Websites end in .com or .net or
so
.co.
YEC is a foundation of creationisms, and they upload papers on there.
Okay, so YEC is a name of a movement.
Yes, and if you look
What's
it up right now,
the website that for the organization that you're referring to? What is the website URL?
there's a bunch, man. You can look up the National
Which-
Center for Science and Education.
Okay, so wait, National Center for Science and Education?
Yo, Blitz, what you're trying to do is you're trying to find a specific document that's referenced to this alignment.
Well,
which
you're making a big claim that's reliant on empirical facts that can be found and should be available because you didn't collect the data yourself. So it is reasonable for me to ask for the actual data where I can go look at it.
Yes, but this actual data isn't on one paper. It's in like 10 papers. It's not
Okay,
just a specific
list
part.
me the first three.
Sure, the NCSE.
NCSE isn't a paper.
Buddy, that's the website, and this
The
there's a title
NCSE is the National Center for Science Education. Give me a name of a
Yes.
paper.
January 22nd, 2016. There's an article of the Young Earth
January
Creation.
22, 2016, NCSE. And I'll even type in Young Earth Creationist so I can see if I can find it. So my guess is presumably, okay, so is it this one? This is not a paper.
Okay.
Are you, wait, hold
You
on.
want me to like turn on my camera, bro, and do it for you, or what?
Hold on, I'm just gonna show everybody what we're referring to. Or what we just pulled up together. Okay, so this is what, so I typed in January 22nd, I don't know if everybody can see this, January 22nd, 2016, NCSE, Young Earth Creationist. That's what I typed in, right? The
Yes,
first
there's
link I clicked
people
was from
who
January 22nd, 2016, fine.
Yeah,
This is the
there's
website that I got.
people-
Is this what you're referring to?
Yeah, there's people on this article who try to debunk people like me, right? And try to like, just like I was trying to debunk the Bible, right?
Yeah, so
So
this
that's
is
what
not
I'm
a
here.
paper that has data in it, is it?
Go to the bottom. It literally says articles by YEC, bud. Okay. I don't know
Articles
what-
about YEC, not by
Yeah.
YEC.
Yes, but that's where I found the most biggest claims that they
Okay,
use.
so where's the paper? Because you told me that this was a paper.
Are you fucking dumb?
Is this a
Buddy,
paper?
I told you 10 times this is not in a single specific.
Okay, and I
paper.
asked you for the first three.
The first 3 documents.
Yeah,
That's
first three.
fine,
Just
read
give me
it, read it.
give me the
Read
first 3
the
papers
first
that you can
paragraph.
think of that you relied on to
Blitz,
construct
read
your
the first
analysis here.
paragraph. Blitz, read the first paragraph, Blitz.
When most people hear the word creationism, they probably think of the variety called young Earth creationism. Young Earth creationists adopt a method of biblical interpretation which requires that the Earth be no more than 10,000 years old and that the 6 days of creation described in Genesis each lasted for 24 hours. Young Earth creationists believe that the origin of Earth, the universe, and various forms of life, etc. are all instances of special creation. The doctrine of special creation involves direct divine intervention, suspending the laws of nature to achieve a greater result. This doctrine contrasts with the view common amongst theistic evolutionists that God can work through natural laws. I read the first paragraph. Now, are you going to give me three papers that you relied on to construct your data analysis to come to the conclusion that you've come to?
Yeah, I mean, I can give you.
Okay, so give me 3 papers, please. Give me 3 papers.
Sure, I give you the genome document. Yeah, I don't know. Wait a minute. So are you doing the research for me, or will I going to give you the research?
I'm asking you to give me the papers that you're relying on for your analysis.
Okay, 1 second.
Mm-hmm. Quick, let me just type this into ChatGPT really quick.
Yeah, good one, Blitz. As you can see, that's an actual thing. It would be ChatGPT, buddy.
Young Earth creationists exist, obviously. Young Earth creationists do not have data, at least, you know, none that I've ever seen.
Buddy, it's a movement. Buddy, YC is a movement.
I understand. Young Earth creationists, I understand its movement. You called it an organization. It's like a ideology. It's a movement. You can call it whatever you want. But you said that you did science and you relied on data, and I want to know where you got that data from, since you didn't construct it yourself.
Buddy, first of all, I don't have a genome analysis. I don't do that, right? So
okay, so then what data did you use to conduct your analysis?
I took papers and I took their work and I constructed it. I don't know
so give me the papers that you took that you used that you combined and synthesized.
Kind of like what you do, right? It's the same thing. You take articles that are already there, you pretend you actually wrote the document, look smart, and then you actually read it on your TikTok to make people concede to your actual movement, right? It's the same process, right?
No, I've never referred to my own work in TikToks and used it as an argument.
You literally take other people's hypotheses and you write your own paper based off your own summary. That's literally what you do. Want me to show you a video of yourself right now?
It's not. I don't know what video. Wait, are you talking about the videos that I make when I talk about other people's work?
Yes, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I don't talk about my own work. I talk about other people's work because I don't talk about my work on my TikTok account. But you were referring to your own work, so how is this the same?
That's exactly what I just said. You don't do your own work, right? That's my
I do. I just don't talk about it on TikTok. So to be clear,
as far as I'm aware,
free.
I have no work
from
Mr. Blitz on TikTok,
so free.
Right?
So free. You said that that you did your own research here. You took data from other work, which is fine. You're allowed to do this. You're allowed to synthesize research. You took research, other people's research, and then you synthesized it to come to a novel conclusion, which is a valid form of doing research, by the way. I just want to know, what was the research that you synthesized? Where can I go find these papers that you used to synthesize and come to your own conclusion?
Did you hear me 5 mintes ago when I said I was getting it for you?
Yeah, and you were stalling because you were typing it into ChatGPT. I understand.
Yeah, it's not ChatGPT. Dude, what the hell? Why are you so obsessed with ChatGPT?
Because I know that you don't actually think for yourself.
You know I don't think for myself, says the guy who believes in NASA, right? Okay, cool.
I don't know what it means to believe in NASA.
Don't you believe in NASA?
NASA is an organization that exists.
Don't you believe in their credibility?
Do I think that they are credible? I think that, well,
right
now I don't think that they're very credible. I think that in the past they've been very credible, though, yeah.
Okay, sorry about that, chat. Everyone who's watching, 1,000 people watching, NASA is not credible anymore, according to PhD Blitz, so please stop believing
well,
NASA.
I mean, considering that the head of NASA is a political appointee rather than somebody who's interested in science, yeah, I'm not so sure whether I would trust their conclusions right now.
Politically not credible. So politically it's not credible, but not scientifically.
Well, no, I just don't know if I can trust the head of NASA right now.
Okay, anyways, here's the paper, man. Here's the
what's the name?
See here. Let me get it. I got the name. Here it is. I got Nathaniel T. Jensen. Here's one of them, and then the other one is.
And what's the name of the article?
It's gonna be. Oh, here it is. The title is going to be called the Y chromosome analysis.
All right, let's see if we can find it.
It's did you get the author's name right? The researcher's author's name right?
Nathaniel T. Jensen. Yep.
It should be, and then there should be another paper correspondent named Daryl Roberts.
Let's start with this one, right?
Yeah, that's one of them. Yeah, and then if you want.
Okay,
Sure.
so let's just look through here. So they have some, I guess they're talking, this is a table that says similar structures in mitochondrial DNA and Y chromosome trees. So this is the percent African and long branch clusters. Interesting.
Yeah,
There are haplogroups that are, I guess number of haplogroups. Percent Asian plus Native American and node neighboring long African branch clusters, which are both close to 100%.
Try actually reading it, Blitz. How crazy would that be if you actually read it?
So here's what's crazy, and here's what everybody should recognize. This was published in Answers Research Journal. Now we can go look up whether this journal is legit, right? And I'll give you a hint, it's not, because it's hosted by Answers in Genesis, right? Answers Research Journal is
when you say legit, wait, pause.
It is considered legit depending on your definition of. We don't have to use the AI overview if you don't want to. We can just go to Wikipedia.
So wait a minute. How are you defining legit? What does that mean?
Taken seriously by the scientific community.
Oh,
this is an open access creation science journal published by Answers in Genesis, a fundamentalist Christian apologetics organization. So what I would like data that the rest of the scientific community agrees is reasonable and methodologically correct. If this was good, if this was a good analysis, you would have expected that he would have been able to submit it to a legit journal rather than Answers in Genesis.
Wait a minute, I'm actually trying to wait. That's the crazy part, right? Things like this in Jay Duncan's work, right? I
don't know who Jay Duncan's is.
He's someone that proposes a substitution for gravity to generate the constant. But what I'm saying is this. I have no idea who that is. Didn't expect you to. So this is what happens, right? So I show you documents of people who actually get the genome samples of 100. I think in this paper was 1,000 genomes he took samples of. So this is what happens. They do it because it's not published by the scientific community. You cry and you bitch about it, dog. Right? That's what happens every time you appeal to the scientific community.
I don't actually think. Did he actually collect the samples himself?
He's a journalist, buddy. Obviously not.
Wait, he's a journalist? He's not a scientist?
He's the journalist. He looked up the samples, bro.
Wait, so he's not a scientist?
Do you want me to repeat myself or no?
I'm just confirming because it's really dumb to say that when you're trying to refer to a scientific paper.
Okay, wait, one second.
Wait a minute, isn't this kind of weird? So this guy publishing an Answers... Hold on, let's chill. PhD free, chill. This guy's publishing an Answers Research Journal and he works at Answers in Genesis? Doesn't that seem like a conflict of interest?
Buddy, can you chill out for 5 seconds?
Can you answer that question? Doesn't this seem like a conflict of interest?
I have a PhD in molecular biology from Harvard.
Okay, right? Does this seem like a conflict of interest to you?
Can you listen for 5 seconds?
Why is he publishing in a journal that he works for?
That he works for, buddy. He has a PhD. But he has a PhD in molecular biology from Harvard.
You're not answering my question. Why is he publishing in a journal that he works for?
Wait. He has a PhD in molecular biology.
That's great. Can you answer my question?
Why should I care? Is the work real or not?
Because it's a conflict of interest.
No.
Does he actually cite the conflicts of interest anywhere in his paper?
You said what?
Does he actually cite conflicts of interest anywhere in his paper? Because that's like a thing that scientists do. Look, conflict. No, he doesn't cite conflicts of interest anywhere in his paper. Even though he's publishing in a journal that's owned by the company he works for. That's called a conflict of interest. And there's a reason why. While I was in the Czech Republic. So I was in the Czech Republic. While I was in the Czech Republic, I worked at a university that was.
It's funded. Wait a minute. It's an independent.
Sorry, I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle of a sentence. I worked at a university. I worked at a university whose chief editor was also the department chair of my university, of the department that I worked in. He was the department head. And there's a big journal that he was also the chief editor of. And so I never submitted a paper to that journal because it would have been a conflict of interest. Why is this guy publishing in a journal that he works for? Isn't that suspicious?
Wait, is that a crime? You don't actually
it's bad scientific practice, and it shows that we probably shouldn't trust this. That, combined with the fact that the journal itself is not reputable amongst scientists, and coupled with the fact that it doesn't seem like he's actually willing to cite his conflict of interest anywhere, that calls into question the validity of this analysis.
Yeah, wait a minute. The only thing that he actually referenced was the AIG's donor base, the people that actually donated it, which is independent people that supported his independent study.
I'm sorry, this is his address. His address is located at Answers in Genesis.
Buddy, did you hear anything I just said? You asked for conflicts of interest. The only thing
this
that's
is a
actually
conflict of interest.
documented- The
This is
only
a
thing documented is the funding.
You're right. He didn't document his conflict of interest. That's a problem.
Did I deny that?
So you agree that's a problem that calls into question the legitimacy of the research.
So yeah, let's do this is what you do every time, right? So you skip past all of the biology and the words that you're too lame and lazy to learn. So then you just critique things based off of what you're used to because it's uncomfortable. And
So
makes you
there is a first past the post criterion that we should all use when investigating research, and that is that we should look for conflicts of interest. B, we should look for the credibility of where the publication is found, and C, look into the credibility of the person who's publishing. These are all important things to look into when examining a paper, especially when examining a paper in a field that is not your field of expertise. Now, go ahead.
PhD in molecular biology. How the fuck is that not his field?
No, when I'm examining a paper that's in a field that's not in my area of expertise, the things that are the most reliable way of determining whether the paper will be reliable, whether the paper is accepted by other scientists, etc., are those three questions. This is not in my field of expertise, but what I can do is I can look for conflicts of interest. I can look for credibility, and I can look for legitimacy of the sources of the source of the data. And it looks like this paper fails on all of them.
Bro, Blitz, I'm gonna be honest, dude. This is what happens. You're too lazy to learn anything new. If you want, I can teach you the big words you don't compute, right? So if you want to learn what a D loop is or what a genome is, take you back to 8th grade biology. We can do that. Instead of you shitting on all of his hard work and research that he's done.
Well, no, I mean, like, if this was good scientific research, why wouldn't he just publish it in like a genetics journal?
You claim to have a PhD. Can you pretend and act like you have one and stop having it so much?
Why wouldn't he just publish this in a genetics journal or in Nature if it's really big? If it's a really big impact.
If you're a PhD, why can't you read?
Well, first of all, the paper's 30 pages. I'm not going to read that on stream with you. I just wanted to look at the paper.
So you're going to make a big claim say this does not any evidence.
No, what I'm saying is that it calls into the question the validity of the paper because of the conflicts of interest, because of the lack of legitimacy of the journal, and because of the lack of legitimacy of the person, right?
So you're going to run. That's what you're saying.
Do you understand that when you publish in a trash journal that your papers are taken less seriously?
Buddy, it's not published and validized by your Gloobers.
Validized, right? Yep.
Validized. So because your Gloobers, right, your Glober donuts didn't appeal to this, therefore it's irrelevant.
This is nothing. You know that the young Earth creationists who run Answers in Genesis think that the Earth is a globe?
What does that have to do with what I'm talking about? Your proposition states that
this guy thinks the Earth is a globe.
That's fine. He probably doesn't study physics. He has a degree in molecular biology. That's irrelevant. Hey, do you understand biology?
I mean, I understand biology at like a high school level.
Yeah, what's a genome?
A genome is the sequence of nucleotides that make up the instruction set that build an organism.
Okay, and what do genomes do?
Genomes encode proteins that then are used in functions in the cell.
Okay, so if you understand what that is, why are you so scared to read the actual anything?
I'm not afraid to read this paper. It's 30 pages long.
You haven't read anything though. That's the shit that flabbergasts me, dog.
Because look, I don't need to read this paper to know that there's something suspicious about it because there's a huge conflict of interest.
Bro, Blitz, you're the type of guy, if Jesus came back down, you wouldn't go see him because you're too lazy to pay for the plane ticket, dog.
So just to be clear, let's just look and just see if like this is a reasonable journal. So the editorial board is not disclosed. Authors are able to publish under a pseudonym. In order to be published in the journal, one's views must be aligned with the publisher's literalist interpretation of the Book of Genesis. It's weird.
That sounds consistent.
Anyone working with AIG must sign a statement of faith, including a declaration reading, "No apparent, perceived, or claimed evidence in any field, including history and chronology, can be valid if it contradicts the scriptural record." It's kind of weird.
Well, yeah, if you want to make a paper about the Bible, maybe you shouldn't use modernity of science to debunk the Bible. That sounds kind of
While the
consistent,
journal
doesn't it?
undergoes a peer review process, it is subject to extreme publication bias since the journal's reviewers are selected from a pool of individuals who support the positions taken by the journal. Weird. As a result, members of the scientific community are excluded from the review process. Also weird. The concept of faith checking is also included in the review process.
Dude, I
This
can do
is
the same thing to your NASA paperwork right now.
fascinating.
Watch this. Watch this. Want me to do the same thing to your NASA work?
In the
Alright,
words
watch
of
this.
skeptic Stephen Novella, the journal's peer review process is worthless as it serves only to give a false and premature
Blitz,
scientific
Blitz,
legitimacy to religious anti-scientific
When you're
ideology.
done, I'm gonna do the same thing with yours. Ready?
So like this just seems like it's not really taken seriously by anybody except fundamentalists. Which,
Well, no,
you know,
not
if your
necessarily.
goal is
You're
to
chronological,
convince the wider community that you're actually spreading what's true about the world,
It's not about
if that's your
spreading, it's
goal,
about testing.
if
these
your
hypotheses.
goal is to like establish what's true about the world, you shouldn't be afraid of skeptics because the truth speaks for itself. You shouldn't have to be able to prevent scientists from taking place in the review process.
Blitz, can I ask you a genuine question, buddy?
You can ask me whatever you want, pal.
Yeah. Well, check this out, man. So, under the consensus that the modernity of science comes to realization that A, you come from a single-celled amoeba from monkey ass or some weird meteorite from this space that you actually haven't proven yet, by the way. If this is
So
real,
is this supposed to be a
One second,
steelman
here comes the
representation
question.
of the
Hold on,
scientific
here comes the
mainstream
question.
view?
yeah, that's actually
That's supposed to be a
precisely what it is,
steelman?
right? Yeah, so your modernity of science tells you that like by definition, you're nothing. You came from literally something they can't explain, but you're gonna go to nothing. That's what
Is
everything
that
comes
supposed to be a
from.
steelman?
That's not steelman. That's actually precisely when the conjunction.
You're right,
with
it's
the-
not a steelman, it's a straw man.
No, not even actually. Straw man is when you change the topics to change the. The
No, a
viewers.
straw man is when you misrepresent a view. That's what a
And
straw
then
man is. A red
yeah,
herring
and
is when you change the topic.
A straw man is when you misrepresent a view and then you make a false analogy to that false view.
No,
That's a
you don't
straw
have to
man.
make an analogy. It's just when you misrepresent a view and then you argue against that view. So you've
Which is
misrepresented
what
the
I
scientific
just said, you
consensus. The scientific
misrepresented
consensus says
you.
nothing about us being meaningless or us having, you know,
Oh,
any of
oh,
that
it
stuff.
doesn't? Oh,
No,
it doesn't? Where do you guys come from?
I don't see how that's related to whether or not we have meaning.
Well, you just said the majority of science doesn't state that you guys are meaningless. So enlighten me. Where did you come from? Where
That
did
question
you
seems
come from?
unrelated to whether or not humans have meaning.
Answer the question. Where did human beings come from according to the majority of science?
We evolved.
From?
Other organisms.
From?
Other organisms.
From?
There's organisms all the way back. And then we get to a first
From?
organism.
To? What
to
organism was
what?
this? What organism was this?
Universal, it's called Luca. Last universal
Like
common
I just
ancestor.
said, everything in modern of science states that you came from a single-celled amoeba, and then you evolved
Well,
to
it
some
wasn't an amoeba.
monkey fish or some shit, right? And then you evolved to this human being that has consciousness, which, by the way, isn't in the periodic table, but somehow we still experience something that's
Okay.
not a scientific paradox.
But
Which,
so
by
what does
the
this have to do with whether or not we have meaning?
Well, no, the point is this, right? So
Because
you're crying.
so do you admit that you strawmanned?
No, that's not straw man. I told you
So
why.
where in any of this conversation that we just had did the scientific mainstream consensus come to the conclusion that humans have no meaning?
The part where everything about a human being comes from a single-celled amoeba. From
How
an
does that
accident
imply
from
that
a
humans
baby.
have no meaning? And how is that the scientific
Whoa,
consensus? Can you provide
wait.
evidence for that, please?
Wait, aren't you the same guy that argues normatives? Or don't you do that when you try to debunk God and pretend God's not real? That's you, right? That was you.
No,
Oh,
I don't
that's
really do
not
them.
what
I
you
don't
do?
really do the moral debate.
Wait, that's bullshit. I've literally seen you live 2 days ago. You were using the most basic.
I wasn't
normative
live 2 days ago.
Wait, so 3 days ago?
Maybe. I don't know
okay,
what live. I
okay,
think
yeah,
that I
yeah.
did the flat. No, I think I did the flat Earth live 3
No,
days
you
ago.
didn't, bro. I
me
was
double check.
literally watching your live, dude. You
Let me double
used
check.
the most basic arguments.
So
to
the
pretend
lives that
God's not real.
oh no, you're right. I did the God debate on Friday.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I guess I'm not as local as you think.
Oh
right?
no, I'm sorry. No, Friday was
Wait,
the
so what's
14th,
this?
right? No, I did the
What's
flat
this?
Earth debate on Friday. I did the God debate on Thursday.
Thursday.
So that was 4 days ago. Yeah. So
Yeah,
so
so
where in modern science do we get the claim that humans are meaningless?
All right, 1 second, man. Let me actually like crack my fingers because you're probably gonna run from this.
Your like delusional laughter, by the way, is really embarrassing and doesn't
Says
make
the
you look
guy-
like you know
says
what you're
the guy
talking
that-
about.
Says the guy that's so confounded that he evolved from a single cell of amoeba, right? That's why I'm laughing because it's so how like
Incredulity is not a good argument, Free.
Bro, can you wait a minute. Can you let me finish? Right. So this is what
No.
happens. Blitz.
I'm gonna cut you off if you say something
You're
stupid.
not
I'm
gonna
sorry.
finish. Okay, so now you're gonna cut someone off and say something stupid because it appeal
Yep.
to your mindset and worldview, correct?
Well, I'll cut you off if you say something stupid, yeah. Or
Sure,
sometimes I'll
sure.
just let you cook yourself.
Stupid subjective, just so you know, dude. So I could say it's stupid to
Not in this
state that you
case.
went from a single cell amoeba, and from the single cell amoeba, right? You somehow you got convicted of consciousness, which, by the way, is
Sorry, got
impossible.
convicted of consciousness? What does that mean?
How do you get consciousness? How is that
I don't
possible?
know. I don't understand neuroscience particularly well.
Okay, but what is consciousness? Can you enlighten us?
I don't even have a good definition of what consciousness is. I don't think anybody
Yeah,
does. I think this
So
is a
you
real
don't
problem.
know what consciousness is, but you have the
Mhm.
audacity to tell us that God is not real, and you get paid for it. These morons
Yeah, these two
pay
things
you.
are unrelated.
These idiots
Consciousness
pay you
can
money
exist.
to take
You
away
could,
their
you could
hope.
even be an idealist. You could
Be
even be an
careful.
idealist and be an atheist. Or
That's not what
you
I'm
can be a
asking you.
theistic naturalist.
Is
Both
that what I
are
asked you?
possible views. Well, you
that what I asked you,
implied. So Free, what you said is that you don't even know what consciousness is, yet you dare to say that God isn't real, but those two things are unrelated.
Really? Wait. That's
They're the
Give me
view
argument for
the
that.
the
Give
view
me
of
the argument
atheism
for that.
and views on atheism. Yeah, I just did. Views on atheism and views on
That's the
consciousness are
claim.
not
That's
intrinsically
not the
tied
argument.
together. I gave you examples of ways that
That's
you can
the
be a
claim.
theistic naturalist, and I gave you examples of ways that you can be
Okay.
a theistic naturalist and an atheistic idealist. These are both views that people hold, and
Oh
if you
my God,
can hold
dude.
those views, then that means that you can have no idea what consciousness is if you're, say, a theistic naturalist, and still believe in God. Or you can have what you believe is a complete worldview that makes sense of consciousness and not believe in God. Those
Okay,
the
so
two
wait a minute,
ideas
wait a
are
minute.
not related to each other.
Wait a minute. So you're telling me something that isn't on Earth or on a periodic table can give us an experience outside of Earth, but at the same time, you're telling me that there's no other experience outside of Earth?
You seem confused. Do you want to try to phrase that again in a sentence
Can
that
you
makes
try to
sense?
comprehend? Hey, listen, try to comprehend, right? You're the one with the PhD here, right? How can something that's not on Earth's periodic table allow us to have an experience, quote unquote, consciousness, but also come to the realization that there is no other things than Earth, aka heaven or God or hell?
Do you think that was a coherent sentence? Because I caught it for the first half, but then you just kind of lost it afterwards.
Okay, so one more
So
time.
it sounds
Try-
like what you're
try to
saying is,
check
how
out-
can you have consciousness if consciousness isn't on the periodic table? Is that
Wait, do you
is that
agree
the
that
question?
Do you agree that consciousness isn't material?
I don't know. I lean towards consciousness being a emergent property of material things.
Wait. So wait a minute. It's an emergent property from material things.
So I lean that way. That seems plausible to me.
Wait a minute. Please explain how that's even possible. How can one be dead, have the same material, but they don't have
Dead
consciousness?
things are not materially identical to living things.
Okay, explain that.
Yeah, so dead things, so in order to be living, that's like a process. There's chemicals that are being exchanged between neurons. There's, chemical, static chemical gradients that exist between inside and outside of cell walls. These kinds of things are present in living things, but they're not present in dead things.
Wait a minute. So you're saying right now that brain activity, consciousness, things that have non-matter can give us this. I think
That's
we
a
can all
claim.
agree.
How do you know they have non-matter?
Wait. So does consciousness matter?
Well, under a materialist or physicalist worldview, the idea is that consciousness arises or emerges from material things. Yeah.
Yeah, just because something emerges doesn't conclude that it's material. You understand that, right?
I mean, it kind of does, but it really depends on what you mean by material.
Really?
We can get to a semantic point, but if you grant that consciousness emerges from the material, then then consciousness is material in the same way that Microsoft Word is material.
Okay, so wait a minute. So something that is non-physical can create this subjective experience.
Well, that's a claim again, claiming that it's non-physical.
Well,
Do you want to demonstrate that?
You have no evidence against that, though.
If you're going to make a claim, you better provide
Yeah,
an argument for it.
Sure.
Yeah, okay, what's the
Consciousness
argument?
isn't tangible. Is consciousness tangible?
I'm sorry, an argument isn't a question.
Well, I just said consciousness is intangible. Then I asked you, do you think consciousness is tangible?
Okay, why would I think that consciousness isn't tangible? In fact,
Okay, do you know the
arguably it's the only
definition
thing
of
that is
tangible?
tangible because I can
Oh my
experience it
God,
directly.
you know the definition? What's the definition of tangible?
Being able to experience something directly. At least that's the way that I typically use it. Do you mean something
Yeah.
else?
So tangible means something that can be touched, felt, or physically perceived.
Yeah, so I can feel my own
physically.
consciousness. Can you not?
Okay, wait. You can feel your own consciousness? What the hell does
in
that
fact,
mean?
that's all I ever do.
Wait. Explain this. How do you feel something that's non-tangible?
you're begging the question. You're assuming it's non-tangible in order
No.
to prove that you can't feel it.
Well, demonstrate how you're feeling it then.
I'm having, like, for example, when I have emotions, what am I feeling?
Consciousness.
So I can't feel my consciousness.
Are you like listening to anything I just said?
So look, would you say that
You
having
feeling an
emotions,
emotion of
that having
happiness and
feelings is a manifestation of consciousness?
Oh my god, dude. One more time. Blitz. If you cry and you're sad or you're happy, right? And you love, you got the butterflies in your belly, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
In order for you to perceive this, including your hands, when you look at your hands, do you agree that you have to see the material world?
So if I want to see the material, if I want to see my hands, yeah, of course, the material world should
this
exist. Hold on, I'm sorry, I was not done. I was in the middle of a sentence.
Yes or no?
However, in order to feel the butterflies in your stomach when you meet a cute girl, that doesn't require the external world. You could trigger that just by, poking at your brain.
What scientific premise is poking at the brain?
I don't even know what that question means.
Wait, what scientific premise are you saying? It's poking at the brain. What does that even mean?
Look, so there are external experiences that we have, or rather experiences that we have that rely on external stimuli, like when you see things, and there are internal experiences that we have. And these are like, the feeling of giddiness that you experience when you meet a cute girl or something like this, right? And so the external things rely on, the external world existing. The internal things arguably don't.
Okay, so what's this connection to consciousness?
The experiences, at least my understanding, what we call consciousness is like the collection of experiences that we have. Experiences, memories, thoughts, right? And so it's part of that is the experiences. And if you can have internal experiences, then you are feeling something, which is part of your consciousness.
Okay, like I said, can you feel something without consciousness?
Do you mean feel in like a physical sense or feel in like an emotional
Can
sense?
you feel anything? Can I feel mad? Can I cry and feel sad without the ability of consciousness?
No, of course you can.
Okay, cool. So do you
course you
agree that
can,
at some level, consciousness affects the material world?
My claim is that the consciousness emerges from the material. So like, okay. I'm not even that surprised. I wouldn't even be that surprised if consciousness was material.
Wait, what? So now you're saying that consciousness is that material?
I wouldn't be surprised if it was.
So now you're saying that you wouldn't be surprised if you crying and you're being mad and happy, that is
if those are like materially realized, or if those are materially realized phenomena, yeah.
Okay, hold on, dude. Okay, so wait a minute. So with everything you're saying, you're under the premise that something non-physical, which I'm assuming under my claim, right? I'm saying that something non-physical.
I'm not granting that premise that it's non-physical. You have to
when
defend that premise.
When you're sleeping and you're dreaming, where are you?
In my bed.
Yeah, but in your dream, where are you?
Still in my bed. Location is based off of where I am.
So if I have a dream that I'm Superman, I'm flying, where am I?
You're not. You're in your bed, unless you sleep like on the side of the street. Which if you do, that's okay. I'm sure we could line up some help for you.
Yeah. So wait a minute. So if I'm sleeping, I'm guy's an asshole, dog. So you're sleeping. Mm-hmm. You're dude, the way that you're so smooth, you're such a dick, dog. So when you're sleeping and you dream, right? You see Superman, right? Do you agree that in this state of consciousness, you're somewhere else other than your bed?
No, you are in your bed.
Not physically.
You might think that you're somewhere else. That doesn't mean that you actually are.
Not physically.
I don't know what where means if not physically.
Okay, so wait a minute. So do you disagree that you can be in a coma and be in a different realm than a physical state?
Yes, I disagree. I don't think that that's a thing that's possible.
So wait a minute. So when you're in a coma and you're dreaming about someone or being somewhere you're not physically, where are you?
You are wherever you are physically. Where points to location. It doesn't point to where it doesn't point to a perceived location.
Wait, so
it doesn't point to some hallucination that you're having. Where it points to a location of an object. The object in this case being like your brain or like your head or your body.
So you're disagreeing? So you're telling me right now, physically I'm in a chair. Hypothetically, I fall asleep in my chair. Mm-hmm. Physically, I am in the chair. Consciously, I am not in the chair because I'm dreaming about being Superman. So do you disagree that there's a different realm of experience,
Yes, I
conscious?
disagree.
Okay, cool. Then if you're disagreeing, then how can I experience this then?
You can have experiences of things that aren't real.
And I'm asking you if I'm dreaming and I'm in a state
Yeah,
of
so
sleep.
so when you are dreaming and you think that you are Superman flying through the air, that's not real
Okay, that's not real for who? Because it's real to the
for
person dreaming.
anyone.
What, can I give you an example? Can I tell you how this is correlated? This is how it's correlated.
Sure. I'm sure
Yeah,
that this is
but-
going to somehow go back to your proof that like the Earth is 6,000 or 6,000 to 10,000 years old.
Yeah,
but
right,
sure.
no, this is going to correlate to what you said. You originally stated that you personally think that consciously, when people cry and have butterflies, that's in your worldview. You could potentially see this as evidence how consciously can kind of be tangible. Correct?
That was not really a good representation of my worldview. What I'm saying is that I wouldn't be surprised if consciousness could be realized by a physical system.
Cool. So if I'm having a dream that I'm getting hurt, and in this dream my physical body is shaking and I'm sweating, do you agree that something that's not physically happening is disrupting my physical world?
So what is disrupting your? No, I would say no. And I'll explain.
Wait a minute.
I'll explain.
So I'm having a
explaining.
nightmare.
I'm answer.
I'm
So
having a nightmare.
look, I'm being super good faith. I answered your yes or no question, and now I'm going to explain my answer. So I would say no. It's not something non-physical that's affecting your body. It's your brain perceiving things that aren't there and responding accordingly, and that's all physical stuff.
So you're perceiving something that's non-material, correct?
No, you're perceiving something that doesn't exist. Your brain is mistaken.
Okay, so so wait a minute. So our brains are mistaken.
Yes. When
Okay,
you're
so do you agree
dreaming,
that-
your brain is mistaken about the things that you are perceiving. Yeah.
All right, cool. So if that's true, what state of realm is one in during a dream?
You're on Earth.
What state of realm consciously? Obviously, your
I have
physical
no
body.
idea what that means.
Because I'm trying to show you how there's a
You're
distinction
in a
of
particular phase of sleep. I think it's called REM sleep.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what your
so
brain is
listen.
doing. Your brain
Can you
is
tell
your mind isn't somewhere else. Like, what are you talking about?
Buddy, can you try to like track the conversation? My
Can you
entire
try to
premise
like
is-
not assume your worldview before you ask
yeah.
questions?
Yeah, can you try to like comprehend what I'm saying? So my entire argument here is, that we have a non-material experience.
Yeah, prove it.
Consciousness. That's a non-material experience. So my argument is this non-human or physical material experience is under the predication that this
Is
tributes
under
to
the-
some
do
form
you-
of a god. You know what the word predication is? You want me to read you
The sentence that
definition?
you said is under a predication is not a grammatically
Buddy,
correct sentence.
the argument is on. Try to, buddy. Oh my God, track
It's
the
hard to
argument.
look, Free. I'm being totally
Yeah.
honest with you. It's really
Dude,
hard to
you're-
follow your arguments
dude,
when your
you do
grammar
this
is all
to
sorts of mixed
everyone.
up.
Says the guy who believes in Bigfoot, right, dude? So look.
No,
look,
I don't
buddy.
believe in Bigfoot. What?
Something
You're the conspiracy
non-material.
theorist. What?
I'm the conspiracy, buddy. You think water can stick to a ball? You're high. So
I mean,
listen,
you are a
listen,
conspiracy theorist. Like, you have to recognize that that's the
well,
case.
so are you.
You've-
You believe that water is
I don't-
upside down.
I don't
in
think so.
Antarctica,
That's
right?
not really a conspiracy. I'm not proposing
it's
that
not a
there's some giant
conspiracy?
lie that people are hiding from us, right?
Oh, wait a minute. So you believe all YouTube videos, then, yeah?
No,
So
I never
the
said
same-
that.
The same government you trust that doesn't release the Epstein files is the same government you trust to tell you the shape of your Earth. That comes to the conclusion that God is not real.
That's a
but
great straw man. None
That's
of
not
those
straw man.
things
That's
are
actually
true
that's a fact.
characterizations of my views, though.
So your government lies to us. Do we agree that the government lies to the people?
Sometimes.
Cool. Then how are you differentiating which lie is real from not?
I don't have to rely on the government to examine the claims that are made. I can examine the claims that are made on their merits, and I can examine the data that they present. And I can see
so
if that
what's
checks
your-
out with other data that I'm familiar with. I can see if that checks out with my own knowledge base. I can examine the data independently.
So you don't believe in NASA?
I don't have to believe in NASA. I can check the data myself.
Okay. So what shape is Earth?
It's obviously a sphere
Because you've seen it yourself, or because your data tells you that?
because the data says that.
Okay. So if the data tells me that I'm actually in a dream, but I'm having
What
a
data
physical
tells you?
experience-
What data tells you that you're in a separate realm?
Well, do you agree or disagree that I'm in a different state of consciousness when I'm dreaming?
You're in REM sleep.
Which is a different
That's like
state of consciousness
definitionally
I'm in.
unconscious, by the way.
Exactly.
So it's not a different state of consciousness.
That's a different state of consciousness.
He's been live for about an hour. I think we're done. I just can't have people on for like an hour like that anymore. It just eats up so much time. And we have so many super chats and so many guests to get to. Sorry, y'all. I really need to be more linear with people. This is something I need to work on. I need to keep people on task, keep people focused on the topic and so on. Because I let them wander all over the place. Because I just take the bait. Anyway, let's read some super chats. Tally Beck sent $50. Tally, let's get a huge W for Tally. That'd be awesome. Thank you, Tally. That means a lot. Lord of Gonzo sent $10. I appreciate the super chat, Lord. Ask the current guest if he's upgraded to the Walmart perm yet. That's mean. We don't attack people for their personal appearance. Shieldsy sent 5 Canuck bucks. Isn't it reasonable to believe that science and religion not only parallel but correspond with one another? I don't think so. They're different methodologies, right? Docs and Greenlight sent $5 to ask, or to say, Dollar Store Perm Kid is back. Is there a joke I'm missing here? He's regularly owned by Planet Peterson and he thinks he can go up against a PhD. Wow, dare to dream. Look, he thinks that when he's dreaming, he's in a different realm, right? Shieldsy sends $5. Oh, Shieldsy is in the guest box. We'll bring him up next. I'd love to join and talk. I'm a big fan of science as well as religion. Okay. Save My Soul sent $5 to say, thank you, by the way. It's always hilarious when a caller comes in and clearly demonstrates that they don't understand the argument they're parroting or the terms they're using. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, that's definitely a thing. Biteman sent 500 joules. Thank you. Gretchen sent $3.11. PhD free, BAS free. Hell, he's probably even GED free. Look. Ekipo sends €5. Why the heck are we measuring the age of the Earth with human DNA? This is beyond stupid. It is. I just wanted to actually see if we could get to the bottom of the claims he was making. Another $5 from Virtuous Path. Sure, maybe most things taught in college is found online, but it's hard to learn it outside a classroom setting without the guidance of a teacher. That's absolutely the case. But also, not all textbooks can be, at least legally, found online. In fact, I would imagine that most textbooks can't. We have Godwin with the $2. Lies to Dr. B, then gets mad when he's not just believe. Yeah, right? That's the standard flat earth stuff. Jack Fetter sent $5 to say thank you, by the way, Jack. My sphincter tightens just hearing 10 minutes of this derp. How do you wash the stupid stench off you each day after your stream ends? Oh, I just forget. Godwin sent $2 to say the Dunning-Kruger is strong with this one. I appreciate you, Godwin. And Shieldsy again says 10 Canuck bucks. I'm bringing you up next, by the way. Hey, I know you're chatting and I'm willing to wait, but I've joined. Maybe I joined for the wrong debate topic, but I'm happy to have a chill conversation either way. Well, we'll see. We'll see about that. Jack sent $5 to say, what's your favorite color? Did you ever eat a grape? I once saw a dog poop on his tail. My mom has 3 nipples. Are you hungry? That's basically what happens with him. It's so bad. Garba Gaiman sends 5 Canuck bucks. If I poke your brain and you smell burnt toast, does that mean that there's non-physical toast from another realm? True. Honestly, I should use that. Smash Pie with the $1 Canuck buck. Grimmy with the $5. I'd love guests to explain electrochemistry in the brain. Also, don't forget your daily waterboarding. Yep. It's just Pavlov at this point. Davids sends €2 for some tissues for the guest. Gretchen sends another $3. Yep, 1 hour is a lot, but on the plus side, content. James Pesh asks for $2. Do you accept requests to review books? I have one. No, because I'm a slow reader. All right. We have another guest who's sent donations to come up. Hopefully, there's something to disagree with. Shieldsy, can you hear me?
How's it going, my brother? How's it going? How you doing?
It's going all right, but for some reason, can you give me some audio tests?
Check, mic check, 1, 2, 3.
I don't understand why this is happening. I've had this continual problem that your audio will be echoed. And you'll sound robotic, and I don't understand why.
Do you want me to leave and join back and see if that fixes it?
No, I don't think that will. It's been a continual issue lately. Okay, go ahead and try now.
Hello?
It's still happening. It's slightly doubled, but I can understand you, and if I can understand you, then it's fine. So, Shieldsy, how old do you think the Earth is?
Oh, I think it's forget. I'm not sure the exact number, but billions. You know, like I said, I think I joined for the wrong conversation.
You may have. So the topic is about the age of the Earth.
It is about the age of the Earth. I know. But I was hoping to have a chill conversation with you because I missed the God topic debate.
That will be so. If you want to come back later this week on either Thursday or Friday, that's when I do that topic.
Can I talk to you about just have an agreement with you on about the Earth not being 6,000 years old? Can we agree
Well, if
there?
we're just talking about our agreement, then there's not much to talk about, right? Yes, the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. I agree.
Yes,
it is 4.5 billion years old.
Yes,
you know.
Yeah. Do you have any other? I feel bad, but I don't know if I can make it to your God debate. So it would be nice to have a little conversation about it.
All right, I will allow it. I will allow it because he gave me money. And I am nothing. I am nothing if not driven by right
money.
That's
money.
fair. I mean, you know, we do our best, but at the end of the day, like I don't want like you sent me like $20. I don't want to just like reject you outright. So
fair.
we can talk. I mean, it's closely related. So look, do you believe in a God?
I sort of do. Yeah, I sort of do. I guess you could say that.
Okay, and which one would that be?
I fall under the Yahweh aspect just because I do believe he did die on not a cross, because historically speaking, Romans didn't use crosses at that time to crucify people. Even though it wouldn't be really crucifixion, it's more of a pull, I believe, is what they use over a cross. But I do believe Yahweh did die.
And
now,
by that you mean Jesus?
Jesus, yeah, Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah. In terms of if the Bible is correct, although there is a high correlation in the Bible, many correlations in the Bible, and people will argue that the Quran is correct. I've read some of the Quran. I've not read any of the Torah in Judaism at all. I know Judaism, they think Yahweh is nowhere even close to being the Messiah. So, like I said, I'm a big fan of science and religion, but I'll argue on the science side. I do think the universe is billions of years old. 14 or however many.
I'm glad we agree there. What I'd like to know is why you think so. Do you think that Jesus resurrected?
I do. Yeah, I do. And I don't think it was a mass hallucination either. The reason why I think that is because the disciples died miserable deaths. And now, unless they all had a mass hallucinatory event, which has happened in the past, like the whole dancing.
Yeah, the dancing plague in Strasbourg.
Exactly. Yeah. So unless that was the case, but I think women were the first people to have say that they saw Jesus resurrect at a time where women weren't taken seriously. And now for people to believe that throughout the Bible, like I said, I think the Bible is correct in some areas and it's wrong in other areas, because I do think that there is an evil adversary force in the universe.
Look, so here's my issue. It seems like if we understand in our world that it is astoundingly unlikely that people rise from the dead, right? This is a thing that like you and I agree on. The odds of somebody rising from the dead are like, well, I mean, apparently 1 divided by the number of people who have ever lived, right? At least according to the Christian claim. So the odds of this being true should be equally small. And so then you just have to weigh the evidence against the actual probability of it happening. And so is the evidence so strong? Is the evidence of, you know, people from 2,000 years ago saying things and telling stories and then, you know, a few decades later writing it down, is that evidence so strong that it's able to overcome like 1 in 100 billion odds?
Well, the thing is people die all the time and come back from the dead. Obviously,
no, they don't. Not 2.5 days after.
Not 2.5 days after. You're right, but who's to say that he was not?
Maybe 2 in 100 billion. Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Maybe. Because I have personally died and came back.
But you didn't die, right? I mean, like, look. So
not
the claim that's being made here is that he was like dead. It's not like he had a heart attack and then somebody like gave him CPR and he came back. It's like he was dead. His body was cold. His brain was not doing anything anymore. That nobody comes back from that, right?
That's fair, yeah. But don't you agree that the disciples dying miserable deaths in that claim, like not just like simple deaths, you know, like not just like, well, some of them dead, you know, head chopped off, sword to the gut, but Peter was crucified upside down. They were tortured, maimed.
Isn't that in the Acts of Peter?
I'm not 100% sure, actually. I've not read the full Bible. I'm more of a science guy myself.
So
religion.
I'm
I
just
was
double
an
checking because
atheist
I can
for the
never remember.
longest time.
So yeah, the claim, like where it says that he was crucified upside down, I think that's Acts of Peter.
Which is fair, which is his own
And that's
writing,
not in the
right?
Bible.
No, it's not. I know it's not in the Bible. So like
Like,
is all
it's
just
not-
claim that they died terrible deaths.
Like my point is
Historically,
we don't really have good reason to think that they did die terrible deaths.
we do and we don't. Which is
What's the good reason?
Because we know that they spread the word of the gospel, right? And we know that they died.
Sure.
And we have.
Well, yeah, I mean, they all died because they lived 2,000 years
they all
ago.
died because they lived 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But how do we know that
But,
they died horrible deaths because they spread the gospel or because they refused to recant?
Well, I believe that it's written that they died horrible deaths from the side of the victor who killed them. Wasn't it?
No, it's not.
wasn't?
I mean,
No, it's
not
not.
like
Oh.
so. As far as I'm aware, I think we only have the description of one. I think it was James, Jesus's brother. That's the only person that we have an extra biblical source on.
Okay.
That describes his death, if I remember correctly. There might be one more, and it doesn't even say that it was a horrible death. It just says he was executed, if I remember correctly.
That's fair. That's fair. My belief in a God is something more universal, not Gnosticism. I'm not a fan of Gnosticism, but it's something more universal. Because if you look at, so now I believe Yahweh died, right?
You mean
believe he died a
Jesus?
Terrible, Jesus, yeah. I believe Jesus died a terrible death, and
Yep.
over his belief that he was God, right? And now many people have died terrible deaths over the belief that they were God over the story, of course. Now my take on it is you can't say he was delusional. You could say he was delusional, but I think the things he taught were they were well endowed values. You know what I mean? Now, in terms of like things like being gay is bad and all that, that wasn't a direct teaching from him. His direct teaching.
But we don't
was
know what the
love.
direct teaching from him was. We
That's
don't
true.
know any
We
of
don't.
this.
We don't know any of it exactly, and that's where I'm coming in and saying the Bible, I think, is not correct. The
But so
Quran
then
is
why
not
believe
correct,
that he
and the
came
Torah is not
back?
correct. That's fair. That is a fair point, and I think for me, what it is not. It's not faith. It's the fact that women were the first people to come out.
To be clear, that's another claim that we can't verify. We don't know if that's true.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Also, women were able to like be used as testimony in court. Like it's not like women were like, like women. There was definitely a patriarchy, but like it's not like nobody took women's claims seriously. That's not really a thing.
I don't think women were allowed to really testify.
They could. Yeah. Their testimony was allowed in court.
It was allowed, yeah. But
yeah.
I think it was allowed, but was it taken seriously?
It was used in court. It was treated as like evidence.
It's treated as evidence, yeah. But.
So, but look, my contention is just that there's a lot of stuff that we don't know about the veracity of what takes place in the Bible. And so I don't think that we can take any of it seriously until we have better evidence, because the claims are so huge. How can you make such big claims with such weak evidence? It just seems very implausible to me. Now, Shieldsy, I would say I'm not like a Bible expert. This is like not my field of expertise. I'm a science guy. And if we wanted to talk about science, that'd be fine, but that's not that's not the topic. But if you want to talk about Jesus, there's a guy I know. His name is Justin. He runs a channel called Deconstruction Zone, and you'd probably have a really good conversation with him. I think he's live like 3 days a week or something. But so like if you want to have that conversation, he's the guy to go to. Now, if you want,
I'm gonna try to have a full conversation. Sorry, I was more personally talking about my personal belief in terms of a universal God.
Right. So why should I think that a God exists?
Because if you look at how the Big Bang happened very split. It was very fast, rapid expansion. I don't have a PhD. I'm a science guy. I used to debate people online actually about religion, and I'd do the same thing that you do. And that's who I was. But eventually, I started to realize that as you go deeper into science, you start to turn to religion in a way.
I would, it's a great truism, and I think even Heisenberg said that at some point, 80 or 90 years ago. The thing is if you just look at the data, it's just not true. So you can look at surveys on scientists nationally, just like all scientists, and what you'll find is like scientists are like basically 50-50 atheist and not atheist. It's something like 30 to 40% are atheists, and then like another 20% are agnostic, and then like another 30 to 40% or whatever are like believe in a God. But that's a survey over all of the scientists. On the other hand, if you look up data on the most elite scientists in the country. These are members of the National Academy of Science. You have to be like at the top of your field to become a member of the National Academy of Science. What you find is like 93% of them are atheist. So in fact, what you find is the deeper you go into science, the less you believe in God.
See, I would say that isn't true, because if you think, I'm an independent thinker, I would say. Now, you can argue that independent thought isn't really a thing nowadays, right? Because everything we digest, we take in, and people just take it as face value. But I think if you look at the span of evolution, it happened in such an exactitude. If you look at even towards back to when dinosaurs were around and how they died, and that fossil fuels were able to fuel us in today's day and age, the way that, so unless it's a simulation, which you could make an argument.
You shouldn't, because it's a bad argument and a bad claim.
It's a bad argument. It's a bad claim. Exactly. I feel the same way. But if you look at how evolution happened through dinosaurs to cell life, going into the pre-Paleolithic era, all of that happened in such an exactitude to get to where we are exactly today. Now, like I said, I don't have a PhD. So, I'm not an expert.
So, but, look, you said that, like, you know, you don't think it's true. I mean, like, I can just show you the paper that did the examination.
I believe that that's true. I believe that that's true. I'm not disagreeing with you that scientists in the what you said it was. I can't remember exactly, but I'm not saying that's not true. What I'm saying is not true is that people should be turning more towards looking at the direction of a God, because something out there has to exist.
Why? Why does something out there have to exist?
So you see the rapid expansion of the universe?
Yep.
Life happened to an exactitude, and it had to happen to an exactitude on Earth, and probably, if it's plausible, on other planets as well, to have happened the way it did, you know?
So why does that mean that there's a God?
Well, if you think about it, like humanity, if one thing happened differently, humanity wouldn't be here today.
Yeah, humanity would be different, right?
Humanity would be very different. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So if the universe were different, then things would be different.
Exactly. Like, so it's a question of
like why? Why does that mean that there's a God?
I would say because like if you take away one aspect, humanity would not exist.
Okay, then humanity wouldn't exist.
Intelligent life wouldn't exist.
Okay.
Outside of things like dolphins or squids, which are very intelligent, but intelligent life would not exist.
Well,
I think to say the argument,
maybe it wouldn't exist here. That's not to say that it wouldn't exist anywhere.
No, I know, but that's my point. Is that the fact that humanity's gone this far, and to say that other life probably has gone to the point of humanity, if not further, is a testament to a God.
How? You know? How does that get us to a God?
I'd say it's God testing all of his creation.
No, I mean like how can okay, suppose that it's unlikely that humanity exists. How does that therefore get us to that means that there's a God that's real?
Because I'd say not only has humanity gone to where we are, there's other species, whatever they may be. They can be human, they can be something completely entirely different. And we're all going down a path, right? And I think, in my opinion, it's a test.
Right. But so look, what I'm trying to understand is like how you go from life is this incredible thing to therefore God is real. Like those seem like completely unconnected ideas.
That's fair. I would say, if you think about it logically,
I'm trying.
Cut me a little slack. Like I said, I'm not the best with words.
That's okay.
Words. I used to be when I was younger. I've made a lot of poor choices to get to the point of where I am now. But if
you have a gamer chair, can't be that many bad. Can't be that many bad choices.
Dual monitor setup, you know what I mean? It's not too bad, right? So I'd say like if you look at the development of humanity, and we don't know how other species on other planets have developed, wouldn't you say that it's kind of crazy that there's things out there that have developed have developed farther than us?
Yeah.
We have to ask the question as to how they develop farther.
Well, I agree. It's absolutely crazy. How does that mean a God? How does that mean a God exists?
I think it's a test from God, is what I'm trying to say.
Look, if God exists, then it would perhaps be reasonable to say that, yeah, all of these things would have happened. But just because these things happen, that doesn't mean God exists. Like, for example, just to give you an analogy as to why the logic fails here. If I say, if it rains, my car will get wet, because say it's parked outside in my driveway. If it rains, my car will get wet. If I then say, oh, well, my car is wet, therefore it rained, that doesn't follow, because my car could be wet for other reasons.
That's
And your argument is essentially the same. You're saying if God is real, then it makes sense. Or if God is real, then we would expect, life and intelligence and all this stuff. And then you're saying, well, we see life and intelligence, therefore God is real. It doesn't go both ways.
I think it leads towards a sort of divine consciousness as a species, and that's what everything's trying to develop towards. Because if you look at how humanity is developed, we're not developing well at all. Between infighting, racism, bigotry,
arguably we're doing a lot better than we were 100 years ago, but sure.
We are, but there's still needless wars over historical values or over resources.
Yeah, sure, I agree.
But
Look,
I'd say other species have probably developed farther.
I'm trying to understand how we get to a God being anything divine from just the observation that there's intelligent stuff around. It just seems like intelligence doesn't imply the existence of a creator.
Would you imply, or would you say or theorize that there is life out there that is more intelligent than us?
Possibly, yeah. That doesn't seem out of the range of possibility.
Out of the range of possibility, right? Then why not, if they have developed further than us, they're probably expanding into the universe. Why have they not come here?
Because the universe is big, and I suspect life is rare.
The universe is big, and life could be rare, but it could be plentiful as well. It's
I would say that
is humanity.
I should rephrase. I think that life is actually probably pretty common, but I imagine intelligent life is not.
I don't know. We can't tell, right? It's a question. It's that question of now. That's my point. I'm trying to make is the universe meant for humanity?
I doubt it.
Exactly. Now, would you say it's not a competition to something greater than us to see how we develop all of the creation?
I don't know what that question means.
If we come together, don't you think that if you were an intelligent life and you looked at humanity, would you actually want to have humanity join you?
I mean, maybe not. But you should watch Star Trek, because Star Trek is really optimistic.
It's optimism. I'm an idealist myself, then I am an optimist.
Have you seen Star Trek?
I've seen a little bit, yeah.
Okay,
I was a Star Wars guy growing up, but
so look, it's totally normal for as a child to be a Star Wars fan and then to realize that Star Trek is way better as an adult.
That's fair.
100% would recommend. I would say probably. Do you have like Netflix or something?
I do, yes.
Oh no, I'm sorry, it's not on Netflix anymore. You'll need Paramount Plus, but
okay.
If you get a 7-day free trial, Paramount Plus, you can do it. Go pull up Star Trek: The Next Generation. Skip the first season.
Okay.
You'll have a good time.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Especially if you're an idealist. But look, Shieldsy, I'm going to let you go because there are people who want to talk about the topic. But
no problem.
When
is the God debate happening? When is the God debate happening again?
So it'll either be Thursday or Friday. Which day works better for you? And then I can schedule it that day.
Thursday would be great.
All right. I'll try to do the God debate on Thursday. Sound good?
Okay, sounds good. I subscribed, so I'm willing to have a great conversation with you then.
Great. Take care.
I hope it was good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Perfect.
Oh, sorry, cut him off a little bit early. And also, if you're still here, go watch or go talk to Justin. Justin is a great creator. He does these debates all the time. He's a little bit meaner than me, though. Anyway, let's bring up our next guest. We have some super chats to read. I lied. We have one super chat to read from Pernicious Knish, which is a great name, by the way. Thank you for the $1. Oh, no, never mind. RP also sent 1,000 jewels. He sent a galaxy. That was the big whoosh that you may have heard. And then Jack Federer sent $5. Establishing pay to play is dangerous. I'd gladly match his super chat to not have to listen to religious discussions. Yeah, so look, I just feel bad because the guy really wanted to talk. And so, I can't like refund super chats. So, but it's generally not a thing, but he wanted to talk. So I'm not going to shut down a conversation. But no, this is not like a general trend. Let's talk to Nehemiah Tesfaye. All right, Nehemiah is not connecting. Let's talk to Zen. Oh yeah, I'm way more patient than Justin is, like 100%. All right, Zen's not connecting. Let's talk tomorrow. Tomorrow. What's Justin's at?
Hey, how
It
you
is
doing, brother?
Deconstruction Zone. Morrow, how's it going?
How you doing? I'm doing so far. So good. How are you today?
I'm doing A-okay. How old do you think the Earth is, Morrow?
I think the Earth, according to the science, is more than 4 billion years old.
You're right. So it seems like then this is not the topic that you want to talk about, because the topic is the age of the Earth.
No, of course, yes. I would love to talk about the age of the topic. And according to the last conversation you were having about God, I would like to hear your opinion and coming from your experience as well, because of course you have more knowledge in science than myself. And I would love just to hear that. I'm a believer in God.
Right.
So
And so if you want to have that conversation, come on Thursday.
Thursday. All
Thursday,
right.
yep.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Let's talk to King Hubbard. I guess I need to be meaner again. King Hubbard, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
I'm doing A-okay. How old do you think the Earth is, King Hubbard?
I think the Earth is 6 periods of time old. I don't think it's 6,000 years old.
Okay, how long is a period of time?
I don't know. It could be a period of time. It's not really well defined. I think.
So you don't know how old the Earth is?
No, but my church, it's not 6,000 years old. It's like, that's just a shitty translation. It could be like 6
Okay.
heliocycles.
Then I'm not
old.
talking about your church then.
Okay, fair enough. Okay.
Thanks for being here, King Hubbard. All right, let's bring up Smiles.
6,000 years old.
Smiles, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I
Great.
can't see you though. For some reason, you're not showing up on my screen.
Yeah, I turned off my camera because I hoped that would fix the audio issue, which it doesn't. So I will turn it back on again.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Let me just give me
the topic.
1 moment.
Okay.
Because I just try to write down people's names that I'm talking to. So how old do you think the Earth is?
I believe the Earth to be about 6,000 years old.
Okay, great.
5,700 something.
Yeah. Some several thousand, on the order of several thousand years old. Sure.
Right.
And why would you say so?
Well, the question is very it's very fun, I think. How old is the Earth? To me, you're saying on your screen it says your church lied to you about science. So we're using the Christian definition here. I'm not a Christian myself.
You said 5,786, maybe?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know the.
Yeah, there was a new year recently.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, most of the people that are watching this are living in the West, and most people in the West are Christians. So yeah.
Right.
But I mean, look,
So,
if you're taking the Jewish tradition, the Jewish date seriously, then it applies to you too, I guess. Although I imagine that your shul probably didn't tell you that it was.
no, I'm just not remembering the exact number.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
No,
Okay.
I know it's. I was there for Rosh Hashanah and all that. So I think you saying that the church lied to you about science is starting the conversation on a basis that, and saying that the Earth isn't 6,000 years old starts the conversation on a basis of what the Christians define Earth to be. And I think that in the Bible it's very clear that on day one God creates light and darkness, which is the start of the universe. Some people could say that's the Big Bang, you could say whatever it is. But on day 7, the culmination of the creation of Earth, God rests, right? So resting is the final thing. And the thing that he has to do to get to being able to create the finality of Earth is he has to create animals and humans. Specifically humans is more the bigger one here. And I personally believe that about 6,000 years ago is when humans became humans. That's when we were able to gather free will and really be us. And that was necessary to define the Earth as Earth. So
if I'm talking about, like, we live on a planet, right? On like a globe. I hope we agree on that.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So what I'm really curious to know, because I know that these things can be finicky, is like, how many years do you think that ball with like rocks on it and stuff has existed?
I would assume multiple billions.
Okay. So then when you say So you're talking about like the beginning of humanity, in
Right,
some
but
sense.
I think when religious people speak, I don't know about all of them, but I think when a lot of religious people do conform to the idea that the Earth is 6,000 years old, it's not the same definition of Earth as
You would
actual
be
physics.
surprised.
Really.
You
I
would be
don't have
unpleasantly
conversations
surprised.
with-
I've talked with so
Okay.
many people who think that like, oh yeah, like dinosaurs lived at the same time as people, and
Really?
yeah, like there so many. But look, so do you think that there were like Homo sapiens around before roughly 6,000 years ago?
I mean, I would assume so. I'm not like exactly 100% familiar with the evolution of humans in terms of like the way our phylogeny connects to yada
Sure.
yada yada. I mean, I'm not
But,
like,
so
but I would
and-
assume there was something similar to us. I mean, most Jews typically don't like to believe in evolution. I do.
Is that true? Don't
Well,
like to
a lot of
believe in
them do. A
evolution?
lot of them do. It depends. No, I would say that that's very misrepresented. I would say the majority of them do. The majority of religious Jews even do, but there are some.
Yeah, like the
groups of people that
ultra
don't.
orthodox, like
Right.
yeah.
But even some of them do.
Yeah.
It's like my reasoning for why the Earth is 6,000 years old. They have similar reasonings. For me, and like we're taking I think somebody said earlier 4 billion years, approximately 4 billion
4.5,
years old
yeah.
the Earth is. Right, but the actual time a year is in which we count now must change by like a second each millennium or something like that. I mean, I think that the reason that the days are days is we've evolved to have a circadian rhythm. It's approximately 25 hours, very, very similar to a day. And it's an allotted time period in which something happens and our body's adapted to recognize that this is a time period in which something happened. And the 7 days of creation are specific time periods in which something happened.
Well, sure. Look, and I can understand that, like you can break it up in sort of like a metaphorical sense. You say like,
Right.
you know, the days of creation represent like periods of change or something like this.
Right.
And even then I would push back because it gets the order wrong on some things. But, you know, setting that aside, like we know that people have existed we know that like regular, you know, human, you and me like people have existed at least for, you know, 12,000 years or so, because we have a city that's 12,000 years old.
Right. No, that's fair.
And so, and it seems like that's really hard to get. Like, I mean, you could say that they were just like kind of like autonomous robots that just.
That's kind of where I have to lean if I want to be.
It's
on my
not.
religion.
But then, yeah, then like, why all of a sudden? What changed between the autonomous robots that were otherwise biologically identical to us 12,000 years ago?
I would assume it's this thing that just like how we cannot prove that God exists, and we can't prove that these people back then 12,000 years ago versus the people that came around 6,000 years ago, like we can't prove what their consciousness was exactly, or not consciousness, their ability to have free will is like. I think what dictates that is a soul, and I think that around 6,000 years ago is when people got souls and they had the ability to make free will. That's what differentiates us from animals, I believe.
So in your view, then it would be reasonable to say that the people who were, maybe I shouldn't call them people, the organisms that were creating, you know, rudimentary but cities nonetheless, like Göbekli Tepe, these were merely animals. They didn't have free will, etc.
Yeah, and they may be smart, but I think there has to be a distinction there. Otherwise, you can't draw a distinction ever. I mean, that has to be.
So what is and maybe there's just not an answer to this, and fine, if this is the belief system, maybe there's not an answer. But like, what is the distinguishing feature? If the God exists, why did he choose 6,000 years ago or 5,780-ish?
That's an incredible question. There actually may not be an answer to this that I know, because again, I'm not God. But I remember you saying maybe 2 hours ago how.
Yeah, sorry to keep you waiting so long.
Yeah, right. No, it's totally okay. I enjoy listening to you. You came up on my feed over a year ago, and I just saw your shorts, and you're very knowledgeable, and I don't know. Sometimes I see you pop up, and I just decide to hang around.
Cool.
But about 2 hours ago, I heard you mention that God. The question again. Sorry, it was I branched off. The question was why would God choose to ensoul Adam and Eve 6,000-ish years ago when there were just like other people before that? So about 2 hours prior, I remember you bringing up paradoxes in God and saying that God cannot be all good, and you know, yada yada. I don't want to get into it too much, but I don't personally believe that. I believe that God is all right and He is all everything. Everything He was, is, and always will be. It's kind of outside the bounds of everything. Why did He do it? 6,000 years ago? I don't know, but I know it was right, because I think that the real definition of God is everything and everything correct. But I can't give you a human answer for that. And I think that makes God unprovable, but it also makes him.
It makes it kind of problematic, though. Like,
Right.
if you just say that whatever
Right.
God does is good,
Well,
then
right.
So how are you distinguishing between the two?
Oh, that's a great question. I think now, I've talked with this with a few of my rabbis. Some of them are like, "Oh, that's a cool way of taking it." Some say, I don't know if I subscribe to that. But the way I see it is, if God is always and always will be, he exists outside of the bounds of time. He knows what happens. He knows if I make decision, every single possible other thing that could happen infinite times over. He had to give the Jewish people a book, which is the Bible, the Torah, that looks at all of these situations and says, if you do this, things are probably going to be good. Or he gives us basic rules and basic laws. And so he had to condense all of time and basically lump it into something that says, do this stuff and things are probably good. Obviously, there are exceptions, there are differences between it, but I think that 99.99999% of the time, or whatever, if you're following these rules that he set out for you, it's good. So we can't distinguish, because we're humans, and if God is everything and is so infinitely complex that we can't actually comprehend it, the best thing we have is to go off of this book.
So you're not saying that the world. Well, okay, so I don't know if you know, I grew up in a Jewish environment. I went to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur services, a few months ago, right? Like, but so my understanding is that, like, if you were a Christian, like, I would ask you, okay, well, why isn't God fixing the things that exist today? But that's really not like the Jewish view on things. God doesn't really do that. It's kind of our job. We have the Torah, we have the commandments, we have, the Tanakh, if you will. And it's our job to, like, live by it or die by it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And maybe the world gets kind of shittier if we do a bad job. And so,
Right.
But my question then is, look, there are some things that are, like, evidently worse or better, or at least seem evidently worse or better, that, the Torah was given to the Jewish people, at least according to tradition, 3,400 years ago or something like this. And so, like, if God saw the entire history, all of the choices, all of the branches, past, present, future, all of these things, then, for example, God would have seen, like, all of the examples of, like, horrific slavery that would have happened in the coming millennia, right? And even the slavery that existed then. Right. And so God could have added in this set of rules, hey, don't do that. And then at least the Jewish people wouldn't be not partially responsible, but at least then the Jewish people wouldn't be participating in, like, this horrible thing. Yeah. And so if the claim is that the Torah is a representation of basically the condensing of all of the rules that you should live by to kind of lead to, like, roughly the best possible outcome. And if you don't do that, then you won't get the best possible outcome. If you do that, then you will get the best possible outcome. You would think that included in that book would be don't do slavery, for example. Or like, treat everybody as if they were your family, or, things along those lines. But we don't see those kinds of things.
There are very good examples. Like, we have like some, I'm sure you're aware that we've got very, like, clear laws that of how slavery should work, right?
We do.
If you only have one bed,
it's illegal,
they sleep
right?
in the bed. No, they should be paid. Basically, they should have access to things. If there's only one bed in the house, you let them sleep in it. I mean, you feed. It's not like slavery. It's almost like a full-time.
Well, wait a minute. Are we talking about the slavery as described in the Torah, or are we talking about slavery as described later? Because as described in the Torah, for example, and I think it's somewhere in Leviticus 25 or something like this, it describes what you can and can't do to your foreign slaves. You can buy them. Right. They are your property. If they have children, their children are your property. Right. If you beat them and they don't die, then there's no negative consequences for you.
I haven't studied this section of Gemara, but I can guarantee there have been hundreds and hundreds of people smarter than me arguing about this and writing.
Yeah. So right. So the question is, and look. So I take it that you come from an Orthodox background.
I grew up Orthodox. I until about I was maybe in third grade, my parents split, lost touch with religion altogether. Terrible divorce, and
sorry to hear that.
back to it. Just about a year ago, maybe. So
that's fair. So do you take it that
not the most knowledgeable.
do you take it that the Talmud was also given on Sinai?
Absolutely not. No.
Okay.
Definitely.
So then you can't really appeal to the Talmud. You can't appeal to Mishnah, Gemara, or anything like that to explain these rules, which are supposed to be like. I mean, like you can look at them to try to interpret what they're saying.
I think you could, and you actually have to go to the Gemara. The reason is when we were given the Torah, it says that you should follow these laws in which a way I've shown you. And that implies for certain that we have an oral Torah. The Torah is meant to be.
Wait, didn't you say that that the Talmud, or that the oral Torah rather, wasn't given on Sinai? Or did I misunderstand you?
The Talmud isn't the oral Torah. There's a little bit of a separation between the two. They're not.
I generally well, okay. So there's the Mishnah, there's the Gemara,
right.
there's
I generally writing down.
So I'm speaking loosely. I'm speaking loosely, but yeah, okay. So you are saying that there was an oral Torah that was given.
But also, it's necessary. It's necessary for humans to interpret the Torah, because if the Torah is just words and there's no human to look at it, read it, and understand what the words mean, then it's literally just words on paper. Or
I agree.
Parchment. And I think it's necessary that we look at the interpretations of the people that have been studying it their whole lives for our best possible ability to understand what those words mean. Because, for example, if I say something in one tone and then something in another tone, it could be the same exact words. It means something entirely different. So these things are on paper. There's no tone. We don't know exactly what they mean. So we have people that spend their lives studying them, and they have answers to a lot of these questions. I'm not the most well-versed Jew on planet Earth.
So do you know roughly when the Gemara was put to paper, or was put to paper?
That's a good question. I think around the year, was it 800 or 1200 or something like that?
I think the Gemara was significantly earlier than that, wasn't it?
Oh no, Talmud. I thought no. The Gemara probably was, but a lot of the
the
Gemara. No, yeah, the Gemara. I think it was like year 800.
So the Gemara was finished around like arguably it was compiled by like 500 CE or something like
500 CE. Okay, I thought it was 800.
So here's
some people say 200. Yeah.
So I mean, it depends. Like different parts of it are earlier than other parts, but like I think roughly like the final thing was set in stone 500 or like 500 CE, and then you have people like Maimonides and people who contributed later, but that's not right. So here's the issue that I see. I suspect that you will not find any Gemara that is any interpretation or anything like that as written in the Talmud, right? Now you might see later interpretations, sure, but that as written in the Talmud that will actually say that these are bad things, because slavery was normal even to that point. Like slavery was normal in basically the entire world up until like 300 years ago. So why would they say, oh, well, this isn't what actually was meant. You should actually treat them like, I'd be very surprised. I mean, maybe I'd be wrong, but I'd be very surprised if there was like some way to interpret this that is, encoded in the Talmud that says, oh, slavery is like this kind of slavery. We actually meant this thing, which is, much more tame than like what you might think it is from just the text alone.
Okay. If I had to explain how that would work, now I don't know if a rabbi would agree with me. So whoever's watching this, I don't want, there's probably hundreds of people watching this. I don't want them to think that I'm the final word of what all Jews believe.
Look, there's 15 million of us, and you have 15 million and one opinions, right?
Right. That's probably true. I bet there's even more. But I would assume that the first of all, I would like to say that I would love to have you speak with if you're ever interested, I would love to have you on. If you ever want to do a live or something, maybe I could ask some people at my shoulder to speak with you. They're very smart, very educated. You're incredible to listen to and talk to.
I appreciate that.
Sorry, I rambled over what the question was.
You're okay.
Sometimes I just get lost.
No, so the question is what's the? So well, I didn't really ask a question, but I said a statement and then you wanted to respond, so I'll say it again. So I suspect that given the time when the Talmud as a whole was kind of codified, they were almost certainly fine with slavery, right? That was just like a normal part of everyday life all over the world at the time. Okay. So I would be very surprised if there were softenings of the language via interpretation that the Talmud would have given for these particular descriptions as given in Leviticus. I just would expect that that's not the case, because why would they need to soften it? They probably thought it was fine.
Okay, now again, like a good rabbi that's been studying this his whole life, I'm sure has a really good answer to you. But just going off of what I said earlier about the Torah being this book, which is, I don't think all non-Jews need to follow the Torah. Big misconception. There's the 7 laws of Noah.
Yep.
You can look that up on your own. Anyways, It was given to us at a period of time, and people had to read it. If it would have said do all of this stuff and it didn't conform to social norms a little bit when it was given to us, then nobody would follow it. I mean, it wouldn't be a thing. So it had to be in the framework of the world, and it just had to be. It had to be.
I don't know if that's a good response though, right? Because on the one hand, the Torah was given to the Jews, at least according to tradition, while wandering around in exile
Right.
in the Negev, or in the desert, if you will, and they didn't have slaves then. So it's not like they were already socially established norms of like, oh, as Israelites, we're used to having slaves, but now you're going to take them. They didn't have slaves; they were slaves.
But yeah, they came from being slaves. I mean, they knew slavery was a thing. It'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, sure. So that's fair, and that makes sense. But also, there are restrictions on things that would have been social norms, like eating pork.
Oh, definitely. Oh, 100%.
So why is it
I'm
like
not saying-
they have to violate this social norm because of this new commandment that they've just been given? But the slave thing, oh well, we'll keep it around because it's a social norm, and we have to, they have to be like, otherwise they won't be okay with it. Like, I don't know, it just seems like it's imbalanced.
Well, like I said, if we're taking my belief of like what the Torah is, God can see everything through all of time, and he's given us a book that then it's probably the best thing. Who knows? Right now in this period of time, we're living in modern day Western America where slavery is not okay, and we have to pay people a living wage. Most people can't even afford, and they got to go to work. Some people would argue that's also not very good. And like maybe 200 years from now, they'll look at that and be like, "That's
One would
wrong."
hope, yeah.
But I think that the rules in which that are laid out in there are, I mean, I'm not saying they're good by any means, but if you look at the greater about some of the very, very serious brutalities of slavery throughout history, I would say what's given in the Torah is a much more like docile, calmer, like let's not do bad crap to people as much as other ones. It was clearly put in place, not as, hey, you should keep slaves and do this thing called slavery. It's, hey, you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do this. It's wrong. There are levels. You got to control yourselves and keep things better. Now, I can't tell you why it says exactly what it says, but I think that, again, if we look, maybe we won't be alive, but 10,000 years from now, if we look back on time,
Sure.
I have a firm belief that what it says in the Torah will be good for humanity.
So,
I mean, and I haven't read. I'm not like an expert on it. Again, I gotta.
Yeah, well, I mean, nobody's an expert on it, right? That's like the whole business. So look, and you might like. It sounds like what you're trying to say, and correct me if I'm wrong. Is that like, look, this view that we have of slavery, it's like, slavery is bad. But it was kind of like a necessary part of the human arc for this to exist 2,000 years ago in order for us to get to a better world today, perhaps. Is that roughly what you're saying?
Right. And who knows? The world might go through a terrible war and slavery might be really bad again 50 years from now, 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now. Like, nobody knows. But these rules are going to come up again, and at some point, and they're going to be necessary.
So I'm just very, very, like, I'm super, super skeptical. So by the way,
no, you should be.
So I'm not a biblical scholar. Like, obviously I'm not. I went to a Jewish school for 6 years, like I had a Jewish upbringing. So like, I know my Torah decently well, but I have a cousin who's a rabbi, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, he actually recently got ordained. But anyway, so I have a friend who you might have a productive conversation with. He's formerly Christian, but he went to seminary. He knows biblical Hebrew fluently. And he's very familiar with the Hebrew Bible in particular. That's the thing that he's interested in. He's less interested in the Christian Bible, just from an academic point of view. And I don't think that he's that familiar with the Talmud. So you'd probably have an interesting conversation. But he would know things like, so he's going back to school to study essentially comparative culture of like the ancient Near East. So like things like Babylonian culture and Akkadian culture and all these things, including like, Hebrew culture of like 2,500 years ago. And so one of the things that he's told me, and I like, he's a friend of mine, so I trust him, maybe it's not true, is that like the Jewish laws regarding slavery as described in, Exodus and Leviticus are basically the same as what you would have found in the area. Maybe there's some slight minor differences, but like, the Babylonian legal system regarding slaves was like basically the same. And if that's the case, then I mean, it's just not super, super clear that this is better than it would have been without these laws. Now, I should mention that it just seems, I'm very skeptical that like this is the best possible way it could have been. And like maybe it is, but like it seems hard to believe that, essentially all of human history is filled with like violent slavery.
Yeah,
that seems like crazy. That's the best.
I would figure if I had to write some laws, I would say maybe I'd probably write down don't own slaves. But I don't have a
and like in the 10 Commandments, like I'd probably, well, okay, I guess adultery probably includes rape, but like, yes, like I probably would have laid out like you can't have sex with your wife if she doesn't want it. Like that's
I think it's a very common misconception.
It's just not explicitly laid out that you can't.
Oh,
right.
No. Yeah. Well, but that's what the oral Torah is for. Like
that's fair. That's fair.
That's in which of the ways I've shown you is meant to like say like you guys are meant to. Obviously,
yeah. Okay. No, that's fair. That's fair. But the slavery thing, definitely putting that. In, like, make it 11 commandments. What's wrong with 11 commandments? Like, don't own slaves.
It's a very, very good point.
So look, I'd be happy to talk to whoever you want to bring up, and happy to talk to whoever. I would recommend the other guy. His name is Justin. He runs a channel called Deconstruction Zone, and I think he's even live tonight. I don't know where you are in the world. My guess is going to be New York, either New York or LA. But
I'm in the Midwest, so
okay, yeah, fair enough. My mom's from Ohio, so
okay. I was born in Columbus, so
I'm sorry to hear that. But anyway, I would suggest if you can get a handle on him, if you want to talk to him, I'm happy to reach out to him and have him bring you up because he gets a bunch of guests, so I'm happy to have him pull you up specifically because he knows a lot about this stuff, and you might have an interesting conversation.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds awesome. Is there any way that I could? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So if you want to contact me, in the description or on the YouTube channel, there's a link tree. It's just like a link with a whole bunch of sublinks. There's like a email form that you can use to send me like an email or something like this, and then we can arrange and we can talk on Discord or something.
It was a pleasure talking to you. So
yeah, likewise. I appreciate you, man. Have a good one.
Keep doing what you're doing. Like it's really cool, especially with your physics explanations and stuff on the.
I do my best. Look, I have two wolves inside me, if you will.
Yeah, the information's out there, but people, especially people that don't have any science background, have trouble reading papers and stuff. So what you're doing is really important.
I appreciate that. Well, thanks for being here, Smiles. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Take care. Look, people say that they don't have any in-group bias. Of course you do. Everybody has in-group bias. There's a thing, like, I grew up around Jewish people. Of course I'm going to have pleasant conversations with other Jewish people. That's how that works. I'm sorry. There is absolutely bias, and I absolutely agree on it, or agree that it exists. Somebody who shares a cultural background with me, I'm going to have an easier time conversing with, right? It's the world we live in. You just can't let it lead you to be hateful and cruel to other people, right? All right, let's bring up another guest. Let's talk to Timothy. Timothy, how's it going?
Hi, Blitz. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course.
I don't want to divulge conversation and go back into slavery and your biases against Christianity. Do
you want to talk about the topic here?
Yes.
How old do you think the Earth is?
I believe it's 7,528 years old.
Roughly. Okay, that's very specific. How do you figure that number?
Because the Septuagint, which was translated 285 BC by Ptolemy II of Alexandria, translated the Hebrew Bible, and the genealogies was changed by the Masoretic Jews in 700 AD. They shortened the time frame because the messianic prophecy was that Jesus would come 5,500 years after Adam exactly. So they had to reduce it, and they made it its way into a lot of the modern Bibles.
So would you say that the guy, I forget his name, he was a bishop who calculated the age of the Earth. He got like 6,000 something, and he even got like a date and a time. Would you say that he was wrong?
Yeah, that's James Usher you're talking about.
Yeah, yes, Usher, thank you. So you would say that he got it wrong, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So how did he get it wrong, and how did you find out that he was wrong and you found out the correct data?
Because he was relying on Masoretic translation of the
and what do you rely on?
I rely on a Septuagint, the LXX, which was translated before Christ even existed, because it doesn't have any bias towards Christ.
Yeah, okay.
Because
So you're talking about the Dead Sea Scrolls, from the Dead Sea Scrolls, right?
No.
LXX is one of the Dead Sea Scrolls, is it not?
No, the LXX existed before the Dead Sea Scrolls.
One sec. Pretty sure.
No, the
oh no,
LXX
no, I'm sorry. You're right. You're right. I'm just confused. I was thinking of other sources. So do we have a copy of this?
Yes,
like a manuscript?
We have copies of that manuscript. There's when
But
King
we don't
James
have,
the First.
And when are those copies from?
I don't know exactly. I believe you have to look that up.
I think
but
so. So I can look and see what what manuscripts we have. So the oldest manuscripts, we have 2nd century fragments of Leviticus and Deuteronomy. We have 1st century, these are BC, 1st century fragments of Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, and 12 minor prophets. We have relatively complete manuscripts from the 4th century, I guess, 4th century AD. And so are you telling me that you've looked into these manuscripts that predate Jesus and you have the full genealogies there?
Yeah, so I believe so. We have records of the LXX when it was translated by Ptolemy II of Alexandria. That is recorded history before the Library of Alexandria was destroyed. That was translated under a decree from Ptolemy II, and they took 70 translators, and they had all independent guards watching them translate.
Where can I read about this? Where can I read about the 70 translators with guards watching them and Ptolemy's decree of the translation?
I'll have to send that to you afterwards, because it's all in message, because I don't have it to hand right now. I wasn't prepared with that information at hand.
I'm just a little like, why would
I'm
just a little bit perplexed. Why would Ptolemy why would Ptolemy want this to happen?
So the Bible was getting, the Old Testament at least was getting spread across as valuable text, and they were being duplicated all the time in synagogues and in different areas of the Jewish realm at
but
that
Ptolemy
time.
wasn't Jewish, right?
I know that, but those scriptures were starting to spread because there was awareness of that with even the Egyptian kings being aware of the God of Yahweh, of the Israelites, as fame of Jerusalem was spread.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was.
Yeah, I mean, it seems possible. It seems like a little weird, but like, okay. Suppose that I grant this. Suppose that
what happened.
Suppose that I grant that the correct understanding of the Hebrew, the original Hebrew, for the books of Moses, if you will. That says that the age of the earth is 7,528 years old. Let's say that that's true.
Yeah, because
let's say that that's what the Bible says. Why do you think that the earth is actually that old?
So I believe there's many limiting factors that limit the age of the world and the universe to thousands and not millions of years. If we look at
what?
We look at the population growth rates of humans. We take the data from pre-industrial revolution, pre-modern medicine, modern agriculture, ammonia, etc., between the year 0 and 780 or 1800s, we grew from 200 million to 1 billion in the span of 1800 years. Do you concede that? Right.
Well, I don't think that we have particularly good data on like the actual population of these places, but like we can estimate, sure.
Can we grant that?
Sure, we can grant that, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Then we say we take that time frame, including the Black Death and all plagues and everything. Over that gross period of time, we see an approximate growth rate of 0.089%. So that's R equals 0.0.
Just and like we can just do this live. So what are you saying that the population is at? Actually, we can just go look up the population over time. Should we do that? I'm just typing this into Google.
Our World in Data. Go to Our World in Data. You can check it there.
Yeah. Our World in Data. Great. We want population over time. So we want not starting at 1950. I want the how has world population changed over time. Here we go. So
look at
this is only going back 300 years. I just want something that goes back a little bit further than that. Here we go.
There is a chart on there for 10,000.
Can I get a CV, like a C or a CSV? Because they have a chart, but they have a chart, but they don't have like the data. I just want to know what like the. Oh, okay, yeah. So I'm on their website.
There should be a nice chart on.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. You can pull it up actually.
Here. So we have that. Historical demographers estimate that around the year 1800, the world population was only around 1 billion people. Okay.
Yes.
And they say this implies that on average the population grew very slowly over this long time from 10,000 BC to 1700. Now I don't see where it says what the population was in the year 1.
Let me.
Do you have that anywhere?
Yeah, it's on the same thing. You have to say. You have to find it. Let me get it.
Okay, let's find it. Find it together. Oh, sorry. Let me show this on YouTube as well. Or on TikTok as well.
There is a nice graph on there somewhere.
There should be end notes. I just want to see what their source is for this particular chart. This is a visualization from Our World in Data. Yeah, okay, I understand that.
I don't know.
Our World in Data population in 1 AD. Okay, let's just type this in and see if we can see what we can find.
Just say for the last 10,000. Oh yeah, there we go. I got the graph here. I've got it.
Here we go.
I don't know if you can see.
So okay, here we go. Got it. So if we go and we look here, we look at the year. Well, there is no year 0, but it says 232.27 million. Okay. So and now I'm going to show you another screen. So I'm going to use the data from this plot. I can't show you both at the same time, but you'll just have to trust me that I'm using the data from that plot because I'm going to show you a calculation. We're just going to do the calculation live. Okay.
Yes. 0.089. Oh, so we'll figure that out.
Sorry, one sec. Just moving this to another screen. So we have that P at say time at 0. At 0, we have 232.27 million. 232.27 times 10 to the 6th, right? All right, and then we have P at what was the year 1800 that you wanted?
Yeah.
Okay, so P at 1800. We're saying is let me just zoom in a little bit. In 1800, we have 983.10. 983.10 times 10 to the 6th, right?
Yeah.
Now we have 2 data points. We can fit an exponential to 2 data points. So let us do that. So we have, let's call it P of t. We will call it A times exponential of lambda times t. That's how you fit an exponential. So now we can just solve. So we have P of, let's tell it to solve, P of 1800. This is going to be in years, of course. P of 1800 equals P of 1800. And we will have P of 0 equals P0. And then we'll tell it to solve for A and lambda. So what we get is we get this growth rate. So we have lambda equals that, which is 0.08% or 0.00. Sorry, yeah, it's roughly what you said. And then what we can do, and we also have A now, which is great. A is good to have. So we can write A is this, and now all we have to do is we can just check, does this model actually work? So we have P of, let's check, minus
200,000 years.
So what's the year? So you said 7,528, right? That should be, or when was the flood?
The flood was 500. Wait, let me check. It was
because you should have the exact year, right?
What's 2263? Say 7,528 minus 2263.
Minus 7,528 minus 2263. So 5,265 years ago.
Yes.
Okay, roughly, so then we can just punch in. We can so we'll do 2025 minus 5,265. That should give us the population exactly then, right? Shall we?
Not exactly, but roughly, yeah.
Well, I mean, so that says that the population should be like 17 million.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot.
5,265 years ago.
Yeah, but it's you need to look at factors of error, right? And if you go back 10,000 years, right?
You get
just for you
390,000 ish.
Yeah, but what's your starting figure? Because you starting with 8 people.
I just solved using the 2 data points that you gave us.
Right.
These are the only 2 data points I'm using for an exponential growth rate. You only need 2 points of data to interpolate.
Yeah. So if you go to then when scientists say the humans existed at 200,000 years ago, or 300,000, or a million years ago.
So at 200,000 years ago, you would get a number that's 0. Basically, this is close to 0.
Yeah. So if you start...
look, so do we agree that? So you don't think that the growth rate was constant, right? As this, okay. So if the growth rate isn't constant, then why would you expect that this growth rate would be extrapolatable on the older Earth model constantly?
No, because we're using the actual data, right?
We're using 2 data points, but I mean, look, the general understanding amongst scientists is that prior to around 10 or 12,000 years ago, humans weren't really growing in population because we didn't have agriculture. Agriculture was a big change in the human growth condition, and so we were able to grow at a much faster rate comparable to here after around, say, 12,000 years ago. And 12,000 years ago, we have, 80,000 humans at this growth rate, which is, perhaps plausible.
Yeah, but the problem is, if you believe that humans were retarded for the most...
You can't say that on this live stream, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, so look, I'll just summarize what was happening there, because, I'm not going to have a guy who uses slurs on my channel, but just to clarify, what's happening. So he wants to say that it's impossible that humans have been around for 300,000 years because, this exponential growth rate that I just hid, this exponential growth rate says that there should be no humans 100,000 years ago, right? If I plug in 100,000 years here, then you should get basically 0 humans. But the point is that human growth rate has not been constant, right? That's the whole business. Human growth rate has changed significantly depending on the environment and depending on the situation. So prior to humans having agriculture, right? Prior to humans having agriculture, human population wasn't really growing, right? It's just not really a thing. And so if you have a constant population, your growth rate is 0. Now, once you start doing agriculture, then it's super, super easy for your population to grow because you can produce a lot more food. And so what you would expect is the rate of population growth to change dramatically between before agriculture existed and after agriculture existed. Similarly, before and after the Industrial Revolution, you see a difference in population growth rate because the Industrial Revolution, again, made population growth rates significantly faster. And so the claim that you can rely on some continuous population growth rate in order to show that it's impossible that humans have existed for hundreds of thousands of years is fundamentally flawed. Now, it is just about that time anyway, so I should probably end the live soon, but I'm going to read some super chats first. So we have $2, 2 Canuck bucks from Shieldsy again. I would donate 100%. I would 100% donate more money to talk more. I can't make that a general trend. I apologize, Shieldsy. Shieldsy sends another 2 Canuck bucks. How much would it take? How much would it take a fitty? We can't do that. That can't be the general trend. Nectu sent 1,600 jewels for the thankful heart. I appreciate that. Thank you, Nectu, as always. Nectu's a longtime supporter. And we have $5 from Dr. Fudge. Tip for the principled anti-R-word stance, to be honest. Other people keep guys like that up, deserve the drop. Yeah, my general rule of thumb is don't do it. Just don't do it. It's just shitty, right? All right, y'all. So it is time for the live to be over. I need some coffee. I need some lunch. So why not you guys go watch somebody else? Let's see who's live. See if anybody's live to see where I can send you. I don't think Ian's live yet. Ian will be live in like an hour. You know what you guys should all do for the memes? Oh, I'm sorry. There are some Cash Apps that I need to read. I need to read those before I let everybody go. First, we have $10 from Shay for Modernity Validitize. It's too Monday for the. Yeah, that's true, Shay. That was regarding Free, who PhD Free, which was he was something else. And actually, before I let you guys go, because I will have a place to send you, so don't go anywhere yet. If you guys want access to my debate notes, which I used today, even though maybe you didn't see it, the debate notes are here. If you want access to these, it doesn't take much. It's like $5 a month. Just be a Patreon patron, be a YouTube member. You can get access to my debate notes. They're pretty extensive. Like they have a whole bunch of, like this is the debate notes for God. Here's debate notes for the flat earth stuff. Like it's pretty extensive. I have sources and all of this thing. So if that's something you're interested in, consider doing it. I figure it's a good way to grow the channel on one hand, and it's a good way to get this information out on another hand. So, you know, we win-win. Anyway, y'all, that's the thing that you guys should consider doing. You don't have to, of course. Or you could also just join the Discord if you're 18 plus. That's a cool way to get access to me and get answers to my questions, if you will, or answers to your questions from me. But before we go anywhere, I want to send you guys over to Monkey Boy. So, oops. So Monkey Boy is his username is Monkey Boy Logic. His @ is @Darth_MB. He's a Phil bro, but he's a good Phil bro, and he's fun to listen to. So you guys should all go watch him. He usually only has like 50 viewers, and so if even 100 of you guys went over there, he would be very surprised and very pleasant and very pleased. So you guys should go do that. Go watch Monkey Boy. I'll probably be watching while making some coffee, and I will see you guys tomorrow for some Ask a Physicist. Take care, everybody.